Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to open up the meeting with a moment of silent meditation or prayer and then a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have public comment on any agenda items. Now we will have an opportunity once each agenda item comes up for people to speak. Okay, seeing no one come forward. Approval of council minutes for the meeting dated April the 8th, 2019. Okay, I didn't really see anything. Ron, do you have anything, or any other members? Okay, having no one with a correction, does someone make a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, we have Mr. Polari, Mr. Takmasian. Okay, as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, so we're good. Okay, recognition of the Bensalem High School robotics team. Okay, we had the first robotics competitive Detroit World Championships, and we have division winners were our school from the robotics, and the coach Kevin McKay is not here today, so I'm going to go up with the mayor and try to get through these recognitions. I already apologized to the person with the hardest name. Okay, so I already brought her up and apologized, so we're going to do our best. I won't tell what assistant coach refused to take the job, but that's okay.
Who's here with the team?
Yeah, but he doesn't.
No, Kevin's not here, and the assistant coach prefers to remain anonymous. All right? And I tried to get the team captain, and she refused to. But we'll get through it, okay? I do apologize ahead of time if I do not pronounce your name right. It certainly is no disrespect intended, okay? Okay, the first person is Ali Hamad. Ali, Mayor, congratulations. And stay up here and we'll go for a picture. Okay, and I'm assuming a relative, but Taha Mahad. Taha? Not here. Okay, are you related to him? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. Zion or Zane Akhtar? Akhtar here? Okay. Okay. Sean Anderson. There's an easy one. Sean Anderson. Okay, not here. Okay. Brian Andretti. Okay, Brian.
Come over here, guys. Make a long line all the way around.
Faison Awa. Faison Awa? A-W-A-N? Okay, he's not here. So you would have been nice to tell me he wasn't here before I would pronounce it. But anyway. Anthony Bybeck. Cindy Chin. Jake Della Cruz. Kelly Dennis. Brendan Donnelly. Ryan Doyle. David Field. F-I-E-L, Field. Okay, not here. Justin Hawk. That's a cool name. That's a cool name. Smeed Afan. Thank you very much. I'm his uncle. Oh, you're his uncle. Okay, graciously. Team. Okay. Okay. Patrick Lee, L-E, Lee, Patrick Lee. Catherine Matavkina. Is that okay? Joseph McGuire. Sarah McKenney. Valera Marabalis. Not here. Okay. Ratik Mahani. Not here? Okay. Justin Noel. Damian Olson. Good job, buddy. Maxwell Palamarchu. Shiv Pariki. No, not here? Okay. Daniel Pasquala. Kush Patel. No, not here? Okay. Not here. Preem Patel. Not here. Ryan Pohl.
Good job.
Andrea Presidio. There she is. Congratulations. So close.
Congratulations. Good job.
Jordan Pukitza. Puketza. Okay, no, he's not here. Well, the hard ones stayed home. Sammy Rana. Okay. Eric Rosenberg. There he is. Josh Shatino. Tom Snodgrass. Not here. Michael Toner. Jolene Torres. Justin Trong. Get that right? You're close. Nice. Richard Vega. Andrew Wen. Ethan Whiting. Isaiah Wilson. Congratulations. John Winward. Jacob Vitaska. No, see, all the hard ones aren't here. I think they're just...
You don't have enough here. I don't see.
Well, I'm running out here. I don't know. Cameron Wooden. Might have missed a couple. Maybe I butchered their name so bad they don't know it's... What's your name?
Gavin Cummings.
Kevin Cummings?
Gavin Cummings.
Gavin Cummings, okay, so we'll Deb, Gavin Cummings. We'll blame it on Coach Kevin McKay since he's not here. Here, come on, son. Yeah, Kevin Cummings. What's your name? Oh, Gavin Cummings, I'm sorry. What's it? Okay, I might have said your, Brian Olson?
Olson?
Brian Olson. We had another Olson, I thought. I think I announced him.
I know, you guys helped out, right? I know you're with the team there. Why don't one of you just come up? Come on, we need some senior members up here. Come on. Come on up, guys. I don't know how many people know the great work that has been going on there, and I know Mr. McKay's not here that worked on it, and Steve, I know all the work you guys do. Why don't you give us an update on them? I know you guys can. Tell us what they went through, how they won, and internationally, the great job they did. We're so proud of you guys here in Bensalem. We can't tell you how much we're proud of what you do and what you did and what you're going to continue to do. So why don't you come up and talk about the kids, these young men and women?
Well, we started out with freshmen all the way up to seniors, and we just compete as hard as we can. We teach and we learn, and everybody learns from each other. And we started out slow, but we kept progressing and progressing and progressing, and we did the best we could and came in fourth in the world. That's pretty good. You guys did a hell of a job.
Sure, you know?
I'll take that.
Why don't we, can we pull these kids up?
Yeah. They're good at robotics, not camera work, you know. I know from Kevin McKay, the team's only 5 years old, and I sponsored them 4 out of 5 years. I missed 1 year, unfortunately, but I found it really important to get involved early because we have 40 kids involved in this type of activity, and these kids really need this to have something to keep them involved. And this is something that's going to help them in the future. They're actually going to get jobs from this activity, you know? Yeah, Boeing is one of their big sponsors. Okay, great job. Yeah, he was at a casino. He was at a casino. His wife. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 5 on the agenda: consideration and public hearing ordinance amending Chapter 225 Vehicles and Traffic. regulations to add the following restriction: no parking, no stopping, no standing anytime on Brookwood Drive, northbound 50 feet before and 50 feet after the intersection of Fairway Road. Okay, we have somebody that has this?
Sure. You pretty much described it, Mr. Knowles. As will happen from time to time when the township administration receives a complaint or a concern regarding traffic safety within the township, the mayor dispatches the traffic safety officer to go out and investigate the complaint or concern. In this case, there had been several complaints about cars parking along the side of Brookwood Drive, which was causing an obstruction of the view for vehicles exiting Fairway Road, as well as obstructing the flow of traffic on Brookwood. Following the review and analysis by Norm Muller, our traffic safety officer, recommendation was provided to the administration, consistent with the ordinance before you, to make the northbound side of Brookwood Drive no parking, no stopping, or no standing anytime for 50 feet before and 50 feet after the intersection of Fairway Road. The ordinance that is before you has been properly advertised in the Bucks County Courier-Times and is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Okay, any questions from council? It seems to be pretty forward. It's Fairway and Brookwood Drive. There's a picture of the cars parked there, so.
My only question, and I don't know if anybody can answer this that's here, but is there a similar concern at the intersection of Humeville and Brookwood as far as cars parking on Brookwood,
Well,
obstructing sight of traffic?
you could file a complaint to that effect.
It just seemed that it might be a logical.
If you'd
Similar
like,
instances.
we'll have the administration ask the traffic safety officer to take a look if you believe that's warranted.
I was just wondering if it was part of this investigation as well.
I don't
If that
believe,
had come
up.
I don't, based on Officer Muller's report, I don't believe so.
No? Okay.
You could say this about every single intersection in the township. If we get to the point where we still say people can't stop, they can't stand, they can't walk, they can't talk, I mean, it gets to the point where it gets out of control that we're doing these things. I understand the blocking traffic so you can't see. I understand that. But to say you can't stop, you can't stand there, I mean, what are you got a ramp there for handicap, so if somebody's there in a wheelchair, they're not allowed to stay there for a minute or two or 3 or 5, or what's the law on it? I mean, we have to be realistic about these things, and that's just my opinion.
Okay, is there anybody?
Yeah, I have a couple things. From what I understand, Mr. Bizzo, the source of this issue is attributed to the apartments, the adjacent apartments. Can you confirm, and have we looked at trying to address it with them too as well?
I cannot confirm that question, but regardless of where the cars are coming from, if the street is legal for cars to park on it, whether they're coming from apartments or elsewhere, they can legally park
But they're not going to be
there.
able to park now once we pass this, so it doesn't matter where they came from.
Now, Mr. Polari, if to Mr. Polari's point, if the concern is cars that are parked there and making a long-term obstruction to the view, but stopping and standing is not something that you collectively wish to have prohibited, we can have the ordinance revised so that it simply makes it a no parking. The signs read no parking, but stopping and standing would still be permitted.
Has there been no standing in the past? I never saw that before. I don't even know what that means.
It is not typical of the signs that the township would otherwise put throughout the township, but again, that was what the request was.
Okay, why don't we have,
And
I agree, I don't know what it means either. So why don't we have this come back and see why people can't stand? I mean, if you're standing waiting across the street,
No,
what
wait,
are you supposed to
no,
do?
Well, what-
there's two problems. One, it's the parking that's on that street.
Right.
Two, it's the obstruction of those cars being so close to the stop sign. So we have to act on this evening. I think we have to do
Well,
something.
we don't have to if they put standing in here.
But it is an issue, and I don't know, I've driven up and down Brookwood,
Okay,
I've
well,
seen
we
it.
can't change,
So
what's,
I'm not going to sit here
I'm
and
not
argue
gonna-
over
I'm not gonna-
semantics as far as
I'm not going to vote
standing.
for it in the way it stands now. to tell somebody they can't walk on the side of the road or can't stand on the side of a road or a handicapped person can't sit at the corner, to me, does not make sense. It's not fair to people that live in this township. The cars, I understand. Blocking the intersection with the cars, I understand. But saying you can't walk, you can't talk, you can't move, come on.
I think this is more of an issue of vehicles stopping.
Yeah.
Standing vehicles there. I mean, this is a section under vehicles and traffic regulations. This is not applicable to pedestrians.
It says standing. It says no.
But it's under section, it's under chapter 225 of our code, which is
It's-
specific to vehicles and traffic.
It's no standing, meaning a vehicle that would be,
Right. It is not,
Loading,
you're not
unloading,
prohibiting a
standing.
pedestrian from
But-
standing on the corner.
Okay.
but again, perhaps I can short-circuit this entire conversation. If collectively you are all in favor of the no stopping, we can amend this ordinance tonight to have it simply read no parking. I'm sorry, have it simply say no parking within the designated areas. And we can remove the no stopping, no standing, anytime language from the ordinance right now. And the ordinance can be put in place. Again, if collectively a majority of you want to see that happen tonight. The alternative is we just simply send it back to the traffic safety officer for further work, and it'll come back to you at a future meeting.
Okay, so they'll stop the parking for now, so we're taking out no standing.
We can have it simply just say no parking, and you can cross out the no stopping, the no standing, and the word anytime. So it'll be no parking.
Yeah, Mr. Pida, further to that, my question was, why don't we just have the sign? I know I've seen a lot of signs, no parking here to corner. Is there much of a difference at that point between what we're suggesting at this point?
The sign may ultimately say that, but you need to designate within the ordinance what the distances are from intersection to intersection. So
Does someone want to make a motion that we just make it no parking in this area now?
I'll make a motion that we revise this to say no parking, and there will be two signs up, one with an arrow pointing from one direction, the one pointing to the other direction, and that would incorporate the 50 feet or whatever it would be. The people should be able to understand it says no parking.
I'll second it.
Okay, second it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay.
I think, do we want to get, there might be someone here for public comment on that piece?
I don't think you make public comment on that.
Oh, yeah, it's an ordinance.
Okay. All right, I'll bring that up again then.
Okay, consideration of a lot line consolidation for Thomas Snyder. Oh, I'm sorry, my fault. Joe, do we have public comment on?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
It's an ordinance,
I'm sorry.
yes.
You can
Okay.
make a comment about it. I didn't know anybody was here.
Yeah, it's an ordinance.
I appreciate your name. My name's Barbara Menalakis. I'm at 3210 Fairway Road, second house in from the corner of Brookwood Drive and Fairway Road. I just wanted to add a few comments to what was already stated here this evening. First of all, I want to thank everyone for really paying attention to this, because maybe to some people it's not a serious issue, but being a 30-year resident of Fairway Road, I can tell you it's horrendous. As you stated, it doesn't matter where the cars are coming from, but I can tell you that the management of the apartment complex has turned Brookwood Drive into an overflow parking lot. The parking spills out into the neighborhood. On Fairway Road in particular, there's a very large black pickup truck every morning, every evening. He parks there. As for the people stopping in their wheelchair, they wouldn't be able to stop in their wheelchair because he parks so close to the corner that there's no room for anyone to stand there. Something that was particularly disturbing to me recently was that there's a bus stop at Parkwood, which is the next street over. If I don't proceed with caution coming out of my street, I would have run over a little girl that was going to her bus stop to get to Parkview, because he was parked so close to that handicapped ramp, I could not see her until I got around the back of his pickup truck, and she was right there on the corner. So it is a very big safety concern. Since you put the temporary no parking signs up, it has alleviated the problem somewhat. However, people come along, they move them to accommodate their parking needs. They'll move them back several feet so they can squeeze one more car in there. They knock them down completely, they remove them. So the sooner you can act on this to get the permanent signs up, the better and the safer we're all going to be. So overall, I don't know how feasible it is to do. If you can do a complete study of the parking situation all the way down Brookwood Drive. Down at the end where Street Road is, this past weekend, there was a large Enterprise box truck parked there so close to the corner of Street Road that the westbound traffic coming off of Street Road had to swing around the back of this truck and go into the other lane of traffic to make the turn. There's no curbs painted there. There's nothing to tell them how far back they can park to Street Road. So it's an issue all the way down Brookwood Drive. I mean, my concern, my reason for being here tonight, obviously, is Fairway Road, because for me, every time I pull out of my street, I have to inch out to look around the cars that are parked there. But you can ask anyone that lives in Brookwood or has been down Brookwood Drive, it's an issue all the way down Brookwood Drive, all the way to Street Road. So I don't know how feasible it is to do a traffic study on the entire length of the road to see where there should be parking or no parking. I'm not saying stop everyone from parking there, but just where it causes safety concerns for the kids going to their bus stop and for the people trying to pull out of the connecting streets. All right, so thank you all for your
Okay, we can
time.
look at all Brookwood Drive, the mayor can have a look at it. We'll get the signs up as soon as possible to put the no parking near Fairway. Thank you.
I think if you contacted the mayor's office and specifically mentioned streets or intersections that you feel have a problem, they can study those and be aware of it, as opposed to just trying to figure out what's happening.
Fairway Road is no stop sign coming down Brookwood Drive, so it's only the people coming out of Fairway that have to stop, so look, they're waiting for anyone.
Can you contact the mayor's office and email it or send it or call them and
Mayor,
give specifics?
Mayor, I know that request has been put in, so you can take a look at it, because when I saw this on the agenda, I was going to recommend that we look at Parkview too as well. It kind of doesn't make sense to me if it's so close. Yeah, if it's so close and we pass this, then why wouldn't we do it for Parkview and put those no parking signs? It's the corner of Brookwood and Parkview. All right. And then to her point also, Brookwood and Humble Road, putting no parking here to corner too as well, that might help.
Brookview's a loop street, so it comes out twice, so there's two Brookwoods and Parkviews. One's near Fairway and the other one's down the other end.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
But the point there is that if we were going to do it here for this one, then why wouldn't we do it for Parkview then too as well?
Yeah,
We're talking about a quarter-mile distance between the two stop signs.
We're gonna check out the whole stretch, right? Mayor. Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped number 6, okay? Consideration and public hearing on the ordinance vacating and abandoning McKay Avenue. And Debbie's gonna get your information to keep you track of what's happening. Consideration and public hearing the ordinance vacating and abandoning McKay Avenue. Is anybody here for that? Okay.
Good evening, council.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, council. My name is Joe Romagli. I represent the petitioners on their petition for vacation and abandonment of McKay Avenue, which is a paper street abutting Tennessee Avenue. There's an aerial view. The petitioners are the owners of all the three abutting properties, which are tax parcels 02055834, which is the top right parcel, 833, which is the bottom right, and then 832, which is the left parcel.
Can you tell me your name again?
Oh, Joe Romagli, R-A-M-A-G-L-I. This is a plan of the existing, how McKay Avenue exists today. It's approximately 50 foot wide, or it is 50 foot wide by approximately 188 feet. Currently, parcel 832 to the left maintains about 25 feet of that street. The other 25 foot to the right is maintained by the other two property owners. There is an asphalt driveway that goes 25 foot by about 100 feet, abutting 833. This is our proposal that the McKay Avenue is vacated in favor of property 834. They will get approximately 25 feet by 100 feet, plus another 50-foot by 88-foot lot to the top. And then parcel 833 would get 25-foot by 100-foot, which already, a driveway already exists. There were also...
832 is not involved in any portion of the street.
That's correct. They are a joint petitioner. They're actually not present tonight. The other property owners are present. If you have any questions for them, my conclusion. Okay. And there will also be a utility easement granted to the back parcel 834. The reason we're seeking vacation of McKay Avenue is several reasons. There is a hardship with parking on this property. The only paved portion is portion abutting 833, the bottom right parcel. There's often parking issues. Neighbors get along fine, but that could change in the future. Also, 834, the back parcel, does not have any frontage. This was one property at one time that was subdivided and it was never given any frontage. The owners of 834, if this petition is granted, they intend to look into a driveway for themselves in the future. That'll be a separate, they'll seek permits. And there's also, I'm informed by the neighbors, a mail issue. The mailman cannot get to the back property, 834. There's no way for him to get there. Their mail is often delivered to the front property, 832, and that would be solved. They'd be able to put a mailbox towards the front of their property. And that's a photo of what the vacation would look like. And if approved, I'll prepare an agreement letter for 832, who has no interest in any of the property.
No, where's the house that they can't get to now, trying to go on the left? Right.
Yeah, so in the top right is the house that has no driveway.
And how are we going to get to it now?
Oh, they use the driveway because that's part of McKay Avenue. They use that driveway, they share that driveway, but that's become a hardship. And if this is granted, they will get 25 by 50 to the left, all the way up to the back property, and they're going to seek permits to put a driveway and to have access and frontage on their property.
Is that considered a flag lot the way it's laid out now? Because it has no, it's using something that's owned by somebody else?
It does have frontage on the back.
Okay.
So it's incorrect to say it has no frontage.
That's correct. It has no frontage on Tennessee. And its address is 1075 Tennessee Avenue.
Where's Tennessee?
Tennessee is the street running
bottom?
diagonal there at the bottom, yes.
And how does that property in the top right, how's that addressed on Tennessee?
It looks like the right side of McKay is slightly paved and there's a tree that goes over it. So the drive goes under the tree cover.
Right.
So you can't see it too well on the picture.
But if the property were vacated,
No, not
And it
the
would-
property, just the street.
Yeah, but the
And then the
street is-
property owners would take custody of the property,
Right,
is what they're proposing.
Yeah, but if the street is vacated, right, okay?
right.
Okay. Then the house behind only has frontage on McKay. So would you have an easement?
The separate partition of the vacated street will bring a 25-foot strip down to Tennessee. If you look at the other plane there, I need this, we won't allow 9 by 8 feet, or 8 by 11 plane anymore. They're 25 feet of frontage on Tennessee.
Okay, so it'll provide frontage to all three houses.
That's correct. At the moment, Mr. Knowles and everyone, the house to the rear does technically have road frontage. Technically, it fronts on McKay Avenue. Although McKay is an unopened paper street, it is nonetheless the source of the current road frontage for that lot.
right,
Typically, if you were to vacate a street such as this, you would draw a line down the middle, and one half of the road would go to the property, looking at the picture that's in front of you right now, to the left, and the other half would go to the two properties on the right. The arrangement that's been negotiated here and reflected in the documents in front of you in your packet are that the property to the left is foregoing its right to receive its half of the road. And instead, the 25 feet that would be going to the property on the left is now going to go to the property in the rear, thereby creating a flag lot and giving the property in the rear frontage on Tennessee. So when this is all done, all three properties involved will have frontage on Tennessee Avenue. McKay Avenue will cease to exist.
So the back, but McKay Avenue will act as a, instead of act as a driveway to the back.
Exactly, you're exactly correct.
Okay, will he own that property or have
He will own it.
He will own it, okay.
Okay, so we're not.
Why wouldn't that just be straight, it's paved because it is already a paper street, and that would cause no hardships whatsoever?
If I understand your question, is why don't we just open and pave McKay Avenue?
Yes.
We certainly could if that's what you chose to do.
There are other stretches of McKay Avenue that are paved and open.
Yes, with homes on it.
So would this ordinance vacate the entirety of McKay Avenue or
No,
just this portion?
it would only be vacating the portion that's shown on the photograph between
Then the
them.
homeowner on the
Because I
back
don't
would be
believe that that's
responsible for maintaining the driveway.
Explicit in this ordinance.
Tennessee to Turnpike.
Tennessee to the Turnpike
That's
is
it,
all
just
of
that
the big.
one block.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, why wouldn't McKay Avenue still maintain the status as an avenue, and the three property owners would get together, form a property owners association, pave the street, be responsible for the street, and it's legitimate. I mean, it's the way it should be. The way, as opposed to creating a flag lot situation, which doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think it's a flag lot no matter what you do at this point.
Well, if it's a street, it's not going to be.
Not if you keep it as McKay Avenue. If we don't vacate it, then it's not a flag lot.
Right.
As it exists today, while it may not legally be a flag lot, it today is functioning as a flag lot.
Right.
Because, again, McKay is,
McKay Avenue doesn't
as
go
you
down
can see,
past the front of the house.
what I'll refer to as the western side of the street is a grass strip, as the photographs show, and the eastern side is a driveway that's shared between the two properties on the eastern side of McKay Avenue. And I believe that's asphalt, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Who would be responsible for maintaining the asphalt on what is now McKay Avenue?
If you were to vacate it,
Vacated,
Yeah.
it's private property
it
at
would be
that point.
the, it would be
The property owner of the front property here, 830 E3.
But as the property owners could get together and do exactly the same thing. And it would, I mean, to me, it would be
They
the proper way of doing
could,
it.
but at the same time, they could turn around and say, okay, township, it's Township Street, why don't you all come in there and pave it,
And by the same token, we could say to them, form a,
maintain it? I'm just telling you
well, we
what,
could say to them, no, form a property owners association like other properties do and maintain it yourself.
Why does the rear house have an address of Tennessee Avenue?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a good question.
Ask the post office.
That's a good question. Has no frontage on Tennessee.
They had helicopters in those days and.
because the mailman can't go down McKay.
And the owner to the left has expressed his desire to have nothing to do with this paper street any longer. So they asked him to form a homeowners association and to take care of a lot that he wouldn't have any benefit from, as because it would become a driveway for the rear property. I think that's a bit unreasonable.
Is that property owner here this evening?
He is not here. He couldn't make it this
Do you
evening.
have an affidavit stating that?
He's a joint petitioner on our petition, which states exactly what our proposal is.
And he recognizes the fact that you're going to come back in here and propose a driveway?
No,
Creating additional impervious space?
Absolutely. He takes care of it currently, and he doesn't have any desire to do that any longer.
He no longer wants to maintain that
Right.
strip.
Right, that's right.
Okay, is this gentleman want to say something, or?
Did you want to, no, I just had a question for him.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Pizzo, if we vacate the property, do the property owners just inherit the additional land? Do they have to purchase it from the township? How does that work?
No, they would, as an operation of law, the property would become theirs.
Okay.
I mean, if this is worked out, that house is already there. In today's standards, that house wouldn't have been built, you know what I mean? But the way it is there, it's already there. If they work this out and they want that to be a driveway to get to the back house at this point, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, there may be better ways, but I mean, this way kind of works and it won't cost the township anything. So to me, it works as long as that guy has a right to go back to that property and that's his driveway.
Oh, sure. It would become his, the
So
frontage
if
from
that guy in the
Tennessee.
back, if that guy in the back sold his house, he would have a legal right as ownership of that driveway also.
Sure, it would become part of his new deed. I imagine we would do new deeds if this is approved tonight, and that property would become, that piece of land
So
would
the guy
become
in the
part of
front-
his
The guy in the
property.
front, number one, have no ownership of that driveway, right?
He has
No,
it,
he
he
would
owns half of
split.
it. It's 50 foot wide.
Oh, okay, so
Current-
he
He
would
would,
own-
if this proposal is granted, he would own what's already paved, is
Half, the other guy
25
would
by
own the
100,
other
he would
half.
own half of
Okay.
it, correct.
And if the other guy signed that he's giving it up, then it doesn't. he
Yeah,
gives
he's
it
a
up.
joint petitioner
And
with
he
our
signed
proposal.
it. Are you an
Yes.
attorney?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so he signed that.
He did.
Okay.
And then what happens then at that point, Mr. Pizzo? Do they come in for a lot line change?
No, what the township would require as part of this approval is the new deeds to be created, because the township will be deeding over the portions of McKay Avenue to the two property owners. So when we deed that over, we'll require those lots to become consolidated.
So did you say the property owner in the rear is going to take over the left side of the property, and that's going to be his little accessibility to his home, and then the property owner to the front on Tennis Avenue, maintaining his ownership of the right side of the 25-foot?
That's right, so the flag lot, this portion up here would become part of this property in the back, as would this side. So we
And he would have a 25-foot driveway all the way out to the street.
Right, all the way out, and then the remainder of,
And the other guy would have a driveway on the other side.
that's
you know.
right.
Mr. Kisselback, drawing number 4 on this exhibit shows the resultant division once this is accomplished. I know the printing is very small.
There's exhibit
It's a
4.
drawing.
I blew it up for
Right,
you.
he's blowing it up on the screen. It's on the screen, Mr. Kisselback. That will be the ultimate layout of the two lots.
Fine, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm fine. I mean, there's other ways to slice it.
Sure,
You
sure.
know, there's other ways, I don't want to say kill it, you know, whatever. There's other ways to do it, but I mean, this works for me if it works for the two neighbors and it's not going to cost the township anything. I mean, Ron, do you see a problem with this, or?
Well, we do have one problem or question, and that is the sanitary sewer services to these lots. It appears that there's a sanitary sewer that goes up McKay Avenue to serve the rear lot. That would have to be an easement to the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority from Tennessee right on back.
Sure, that's
So
fine.
you have a partial easement now, but that does not include the whole sewer line.
Right. It would be fine with granting an easement to the,
So you're going to make sure all the easements are in place
Absolutely.
when you submit the deeds,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
Proper easements.
And there's
Okay.
one minor typo on your agreement between that document, you have that?
Let's see, I do.
Okay, it's, page 3.
Okay.
This is the same parcel twice. But he needs another.
Okay, I have it.
On the third whereas, you have the parcel 833
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
twice. But you should also mention 832, because you're saying that the said McKay Avenue lies between the premises of the parties of the first part. That's all three owners.
Okay, I'll change
So all 3 parcels should be named there.
Okay. I'll make that change.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Is there anybody that would like to come forward to speak for or against this, this ordinance? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Is there any other questions from the council members?
I'd like to just get confirmation from the property owners that are in attendance that this is in fact what they desire and that there's no miscommunication on this. If they don't mind
Yeah,
coming up and
Come on up real fast.
just want to make sure that you are all on board with exactly what's being proposed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm Michael Laster, Laster.
Michelle Laster.
Beth Dove. Beth Dove, D-O-V-E.
Okay, which one lives in the front, which one lives in the back?
We live in the front. The Lasters are in the
Okay,
front,
so
and the Doves are in the
The
back.
neighbors get along, I'm fine.
Yes.
Okay, but their attorney has a signed affidavit. Are you related to Bob Romaglia?
I am, yeah, I'm that, he's my uncle.
Oh, your uncle, okay, all right. I was just curious. So-
Okay, so you are all in favor of this
Yes.
subdivision vacating McKay Avenue?
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
we've been discussing it because of the parking situation,
Okay.
and this is.
For 2
what we-
years.
Yeah, this is what we came up
Okay,
with.
and you do intend to pave a driveway all the way to the
Yes.
frontage of Tennessee Avenue?
About 3 days after you okay.
okay.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please remember that you need to apply for permits to do that.
Yeah.
Already have my contractor on it.
Okay, make sure he gets a permit.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, so is there any other questions from council? If not, we have a motion in order.
I'll make the motion that we approve it, based off of, the way the ordinance is written, with one amendment to add, Mr. Gantz's, verbiage regarding the sewer line,
And the correction in
And the correction of the
verbiage.
parcel
Yeah.
numbers.
and the correction of the lot numbers.
Okay, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Jesse. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so we're good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, what are you mumbling?
Correct the spelling from the
No, well, why don't you just say it? You should have said it afterwards. Alright.
Yes. Yes.
That'll be the attorney.
correct it when he signs it?
Well, he has to make a correction, so he should, the person who prepared it should put his signature.
That's fine. Stop however you want. Probably. This might be good. Good, how are you? It's good. Yeah, I spoke with him today for a while, a couple times. He's doing well. Yeah, but his blood count's getting better.
Okay, number 7 on the agenda is Thomas Snyder, 2509, 2519, 2519, lot line consolidation.
Where should we situate the plan set? Good.
No, it's not your fault, my fault. Okay, go
All right.
ahead, you
Thank
introduce yourself,
Good
please.
Good evening. My name's Mike McGinnis. I'm with Begley, Carlin, and Mandio, here on behalf of the applicant, and we're here in a lot line change application. We're dealing with 3 properties, 2509, 2519, and 2529 Humeville Road. There are 4 different tax parcels, 02-032, 099, 02-032-100. Those are actually 2 parcels, and I'll come up to the plan and show you in a second, which have been consolidated previously. They're at the end lot, if you're looking at the plan on the far right. 02-037-097 would be the far left parcel, and then in the middle is 02-032-098. These are all within the R2 district, and if I can take this, I think it's easy. I think it's easy to visualize what we're doing here by looking at the plan. property line, as it currently exists, is highlighted in green on this plan. It's almost at a 45-degree angle. It more or less completely bifurcates the middle lot here, and it creates what are 3 irregularly shaped lots. The lot, which I will label the lot on the far right, the 099 and 100 lot, is shaped strangely, so you have basically this existing dwelling which fronts on Humeville Road and Woodbine, and then you have sort of this strange rear yard which would ordinarily be positioned to the rear of the middle lot, but because of the way the property line is situated, that's not the case. What we're proposing, I think, is substantial common sense, which is to fix what's been a long-standing issue with the property irregularities. We're going to create basically a 90-degree perpendicular lot line. So instead of having this strange split, which starts at the corner of the first lot, cuts across the middle lot, and goes to the end lot, we're going to have new property lines which are perpendicular between 1, 2, and 3. We think this, again, makes sense. We think it's consistent. We think it's cleaning up what we would consider to be a sort of a long-standing.
Are you giving the existing dwelling on Unionville the back corner of his own lot?
Right. So what we're doing is the existing, there's 2 existing dwellings on Humeville. There's an existing dwelling on 97, and there's an existing dwelling on 99 and 100. What's happening, in essence, is the property which is to the rear of the middle lot is currently more or less the property that's to the far right lot. And what we're doing is we're taking the 99 and the 100 lot and we're giving it to the 98 lot.
Right.
And we're not creating any nonconformities with respect to dimensional relief. Everything is consistent. It's meeting all of the R2 requirements. But in essence, what's happening, there's a little change to the 97 lot, the one on the far left if you're looking at the plan. But the basic gist of this is the lot which is on the far right, that is losing a substantial amount of territory, and that square footage is being given to the middle lot. And we're reconfiguring the lot lines to have even-shaped lots.
How did you start the construction? I mean, you're confusing me completely with your 99, 97, 100, 99, 88, 99, and et cetera, et cetera. You're really confusing me, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
However, how did you start construction if the lots weren't in place prior to you starting construction? Especially on the middle lot.
We have, the middle lot is vacant, all right? So we have an existing dwelling on, I'll just say it as A, B, and C. We'll keep it simple. A is the 2509 Humeville Avenue lot. That's on the far left if you're looking at the plan.
And when was that house built?
Being built now.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, it started last year.
Sir, state your name.
Tom Snyder.
So that's the one on the extreme left as I look at it.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Gable property, that's correct.
All right, then you have the middle lot.
That's
It has a
right.
diagonal,
That's split with the existing property
and
line.
there's nothing built on there as of yet. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is vacant presently.
Oh, it is?
And that's what's split with this property line right now at the 45-degree angle. We can label that as Lot B. That's the tax parcel number that ends in 98. Then you have the far right property that we can label as Lot C, if you're looking at the plan. That has an existing dwelling on it. It also has, this is all part of that property.
Yes.
So because of the way the property line is currently situated, instead of what you would normally expect to be the layout with even property lines, you have this property has an existing dwelling, and then it has this, I'll call it a rear yard, basically. And what we're proposing to do is to eliminate the property line that's running through B that is vacant and create new property lines perpendicular here to create regularly shaped lots and eliminating the irregularly
Fine.
shaped lots.
So then the first building that you built, Lot A, did you need any zoning variances at all?
No.
None, okay.
Okay, so
And you didn't have to come before council because it was one lot?
That's correct.
So this is the first time you're coming before us?
That's correct. And technically, we could currently construct a dwelling on Lot B without the lot line change. But we think that would look highly irregular because of the way that the property would need to be constituted and be situated. We think it's much cleaner if we move forward with the lot line change and we have what I'll term a regularly constituted lot in the middle here with a normal rear yard, and we go ahead and we're proposing a 1,593 square foot dwelling on Lot B. We think that building it after a lot line change where we're creating common sense perpendicular lot lines is a better solution than to create sort of a strangely shaped single-family detached dwelling, which we believe we can do by right without needing any relief on this lot. We think we're cleaning up what has been a long-standing issue here with that. I don't know what the genesis of this property line was. I don't know if it conformed with maybe a prior zoning district demarcation point or not. But if we look at the lots right now, we already have the dwelling on the far right. We have the dwelling on the far left. What we're trying to do is fix the issue in the middle by taking property that is in the far right dwelling to the rear, giving it to the middle so that when we move ahead with the single-family detached dwelling in the middle, it makes sense. We're building it on a properly shaped lot with adequate square footage. That's the general gist.
Have you addressed the stormwater management? I'm sure you have, but I think it may be more than what you're bargaining for, in theory. Stormwater management?
Yes, John Richardson's here from DUMAC to address that.
All right. Do you want to do it now?
Sure.
Sure. We would propose a underground dry well. The two outbound lots, so labeled A and C, that is what was proposed and was built on those two lots. So the middle lot, we would propose a very similar type dry well proportion, of course, for the amount of impervious surface that it would appear on that lot.
Okay.
Do you not foresee that you're going to have to do something else or in addition to that plan for the water management? And the reason why I'm asking is because from what I understand, that due to the construction of those two homes, that now there's more water issues down there. And here's my other concern, is that middle lot is heavily wooded as it stands right now. Is that correct?
That's correct, about
Okay.
0.732 acres.
What percentage of that middle lot do you intend on taking the woodlands down?
Approximately 33%,
So,
which is well within the ordinance allowance.
Currently, there's 0.753 acres of woodland, non-environmentally sensitive. We're proposing to disturb 0.247, whereas 0.376 is allowed by the ordinance.
is that percentage based off of the proposed lot lines?
Correct.
The disturbance, yes, but I don't know, maybe John, you do. I'm not sure. Obviously, the acreage of the woodlands, I don't know what the split is between the rear and the front of the property. Obviously, there's still going to be disturbance regardless of.
So then wouldn't you suspect that you're going to have additional water runoff issues there?
The stormwater management would be designed per the ordinance. The township engineer would review those calculations to ensure that they are in compliance with the township's
And I
ordinances.
appreciate that, but all I'm suggesting is that I believe there's additional water runoff there, especially being that you're across the street from a golf course. So all I'm suggesting is that we need to take a look at that to make sure that we capture or address the water issues. Are you putting basements in those three homes?
Basements or basins?
Basements.
Yes.
The two homes are already on A and C are already constructed, correct?
Correct, yes.
So we're just addressing what's going to be proposed in the middle lot.
Okay, in the basements, are you done?
I have something
Okay.
else too as well.
So, this may be part of construction, I'm not sure, but I've been told that the basements are filling up with water. The basement on lot one is filling up with water. And then people are concerned that once you take care of the water in that basement that's filling up now, then it's going to be pumped out into the neighborhood.
The whole reason why the basement on, your guys are calling it Lot 1, which would be, I believe, 2529, which is the one on corner of Woodbine and Humble Road, there's no gutters. Everything's just pitched to the house. So we don't have no sump. We just literally just got a sump pump working there a week ago, but it's not flooding. It's a house that's under construction. It's a basement that's in there. There's a French drain that's installed. There will be a pump that's in there, and it will be operational, and it will be tied into the stormwater management system that goes underground.
There are gutters there. I don't know if you're saying there are no gutters on that specific property. But
On
there's
the-
gutters across the street on Humville Road, quite a large one.
I'm talking about rain gutters on the house.
Oh, gutters on the house.
Rain gutters on the actual
There's no
house. There's no
gutters.
rain gutters, so the roof that's shedding, the water that's shedding off of the roof, it's cascading right down to the foundation. And it's just going everywhere because it's under construction until it's complete.
Okay, and when you have a basement, it's filling up with water now.
It's not filling up with water right now, no.
Okay, all right, well, okay, so if you have, okay, so when you get a sump pump, you say it's going into the water system, what, is it going into a French drain, underground water?
It's
that
going to
stays
go
on the
into a
property?
recharge basin, basically. I mean, John could speak more about that, but it's going to be a stone pit that I believe on the other lot was 30 foot by 30 foot by 4 foot deep that was filled with stone. And that we did perk testings to make sure that, you know, whatever that the stone's going on top of.
Okay.
Can-
Mr. Gantz, is it true that when they build a house like this, or two houses, or three, okay, they cannot cause water to go on someone else's property that wasn't going on there before, right? They can't make the water of the neighbors worse, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so what would they do to prevent water on Lot 1, if I call it to the left, from putting water onto the property?
Well, that's
behind
why they have to build the underground retention basins and perk basins. The water gets directed into that and perked into the ground.
it? Okay, and they'll be tested that will work?
Yeah, on this review, you'll notice we do require that a perk test will be required for this new basin.
And if it doesn't work in function, would they have
They
to
have
correct
to
it?
do something else, yes.
How quickly do you expect to get the gutters on?
On the present house.
Well, we're talking about two homes, right?
Yeah.
Do either one of those homes have gutters on there right now?
The one that's 2509 has gutters on it, yes. And the basement, I don't know what the flooding issue is that we're actually talking about. Are you guys talking about the basement that we have there that has water in the basement, that it's flooded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that information is coming from, but it's not flooded, no.
But is there water in the basement?
As of right now, no.
I think,
How about when it rains?
When it rains, there's no water. I was just there this morning, and I was there on Friday, and I was there on Wednesday, and there's been no water in the basement whatsoever.
I think just to reiterate, this isn't, we're not here with respect to subdivision approval. Lot A on the one end and Lot C on the other end. We're not creating additional lots. What we're trying to do is clean up property irregularities. In a theoretical sense, we could go to the middle property, I think, and come up with a plan and construct a single-family detached dwelling tomorrow, but we don't think it makes sense with the way that the lots are currently constituted.
Well, I think the lot should be cleaned up like this, I mean,
Right.
personally, you know, but you have to maintain the water. Now, someone told me you
Absolutely.
brought a lot of dirt in.
Yes, and we don't want to create any additional burdens for any of the neighbors. We don't want to create stormwater issues. We're highly cognizant of that. But we think, as you state, that it makes sense for the lot lines to be reconfigured with these properties.
Right, and you have to understand, this is our first bite of the apple, because through legal appropriation on your part, of course, you had the right to build the first house by going through the, building plan, not coming to us. So this is the first opportunity we're having of looking at the property, and we know that there's water problems in that area. And that's what we're trying to address. I mean, we're trying to address it to a point where you're just saying, I mean, I don't know that you're just saying that we're addressing it according to what the letter of the law is, and that's good enough? Or are you saying, we understand there's a problem there, let's fix it together, and let's approach it together? I don't know what you're saying. this point.
This should have been done in the beginning. It shouldn't be coming to this now and then saying, look, we're going to change this, change that. The ground they're taking off the lot that's already built, is that going to change the approvals now? Because now they're going to have less ground that they were based upon when they came in for their permitting. Because they're giving some of the ground to the other property. So is that making a difference there?
No, all the lots after, first of all, this is technically, although it's a lot line change application, there's also a lot consolidation and a land development. It's more than a lot line change.
Then why are we looking at a lot lines
Well,
consolidation?
that's part of it. It's three things.
But we're not looking at it at the main thing. We are looking at a lot line consolidation, not everything else that we're pursuing. I don't know that, I just don't know that, it's putting a lot of burden on houses that are already there. None of that was taken into consideration. We have a neighbor next door who has no easement for snow removal. The house is like almost on top of his house. Then you have people on Woodbine that have problems back there with water and runoff and things of that nature. There's no bites of any of the apple for this on our part. Now we're being asked to do a consolidation and a land development. That should have been done in the beginning. It shouldn't have come to where we are now. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just telling you, what's before you is all three things.
Just telling you what I'm thinking, that's all.
Mr. Snyder, did you always intend to do this lot line change when you bought these properties?
Do you mind if I come up here, approach this picture?
You can, yeah.
Sure.
Actually, to answer that question is no, that's not been my plans from the beginning. When I bought this property, it was a total of 4 parcels and 3 different lots. I had the original plans, which Richard from Dumac, which will tell you that this house that we had here was sitting sideways. So it's basically the same exact house here, and it's sitting sideways, which fits. These lots here meet all the criteria for R2. They're all 7,500 square feet. They all meet all the criteria for all the side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. I had this house sitting here sideways, and I wanted to actually do what I thought was doing this person a favor and all the neighbors a favor, because whoever owns this property here, how can they maintain this property? You only have a little sliver here to get through. And then for this people here to put a fence up through here, I mean, could you imagine if you guys were a property buyer and you were coming to a house and a builder built this house sitting here sideways and this property line was running on a 45-degree angle, which by right I could. I'm just trying to come in here in front of you guys tonight, which I think would...
You didn't look at this design before you do it? You're coming in front of us now to make these changes after you already built houses? Why wouldn't you look at it in the designing period in the beginning to say, hey, this will look better if we do this?
We had it sitting sideways.
Can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. You're coming in now with a property that you can shove a house in that doesn't look right. It's not going to be an easy sell because nobody's going to live in a sideway house. You may sell it. It may not. But I live in this neighborhood. This is my neighborhood where I live, so I understand what's going on here. This has always been a property that had a problem fitting anything because of the way that it was laid out. You got one house there, to me, you had to use that other piece of property to make that happen. Otherwise, you would have cut it across and you would have made the change that you're asking for.
I'm sorry, I don't want to speak over you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You would have not added that to the piece on the right. You would have made that cut across in the beginning and made everything fit. Now you're realizing it's not going to work the way you wanted to, so now you're coming back in front of council, and we're in a position where we have to make a decision based upon now you're stuck because this is what you already did instead of looking at it from the right way in the beginning and do it so it was right for the houses that were there, the people in the neighborhood, the safety of the people on Unionville Road, the water runoff, because the neighbors on Woodbine have problems with water runoff from this property. I know that for a fact. So there's issues here that you didn't look at in the beginning, but now you're running into a headwind and you want to make the changes to make it look better for you. It should have been done in the beginning.
Okay, well, so would you prefer me to put the house sideways then and not do this lot line change?
He didn't say that at all. He didn't say that at all.
Oh, I'm just asking. I'm here to do whatever you guys want me to do.
Are you a professional builder? Do you build for a living?
I've built over 70 houses,
Okay,
yeah.
so wouldn't you look at something like that before you build the other house and the other house on the corner? Wouldn't you say, hey, what's the best way to lay out these 3 houses and make this house so it's straight across? Why would you build 2 and then come in for wanting to make the lot line changes to make the other one? It just doesn't make sense to me,
Well,
that's
and
all.
if you want me, I can explain it to you. when we bought this property, we planned on putting three houses, and like I said, this house sitting sideways. But then as I started working here and looking at it, it just didn't make sense for these people to have these oddly shaped lots. And I actually thought I was doing everyone justice by changing it.
But why didn't that make sense in the beginning if you looked the way you had it laid out?
I
If you're
changed my
looking-
mind. I mean, yeah.
If I may, it seems like there's a concern of stormwater and the houses and the number of vehicles. And there's 3 lots there that are currently buildable. We can build the 3 houses. It just makes more sense to straighten out the lot lines to be more orthogonal to what he built.
Why didn't you do that in the beginning as the engineer for this plan? I'll ask you the same thing I asked the builder.
I take my direction from my client. And if I may, the middle lot, the triangular lot, it's almost 10,000 square feet. The impervious surface ratio allowed by the ordinance is 45%. So we could, in theory, build up to about almost 4,500 square feet of impervious surface on that lot. The 2 outbound lots that are currently underdeveloped have approximately half of that amount of impervious surface. So in terms of what we're allowed to build on that middle lot, we could build up to almost 4,400 square feet as it currently is arranged. We don't want to.
But you're using that as a criteria, saying we could if you push this into a situation. So to me, it sounds to me like you're being somewhat confrontational as opposed to coming to us and saying,
No.
well, that's what I hear.
No,
And
not
I'm
at all.
sitting up here.
The amount of impervious surface that could be built on that lot is irrelevant whether the lot line changes or not. Whether, I believe my client would probably build a house on that lot even if this lot line change does not go through.
I think to take a step back, I don't think this was intended to be antagonistic, so I would like to apologize for the tenor of that, if that's how it's come across. What we would like to do is create a solution, obviously, that works to the township's satisfaction and to our client's satisfaction. We have constructed the 2 lots. We would be very happy if there was a solution that was mutually beneficial to the township to satisfy some of the stormwater concerns that the neighbors have with respect to the lots. We still think, ultimately, whether it was done in the past or not done in the past, or whether we're in front of council now, it makes sense to have the lot line change completed because of the layout. We're happy to potentially continue this and have a discussion and see if we can come to a solution that works for all the parties involved. We don't want an antagonistic relationship with the property owners. We don't want an antagonistic relationship with the neighbors or council. What we would like to do is create a situation that hopefully allows our client the opportunity to build a single-family structure in the middle lot, which makes sense, which is consistent with the area, while not also creating additional stormwater issues.
What I'd like to see is a stormwater management plan that addresses all of this prior to us moving forward. A stormwater management plan that addresses the flooding issue, the concerns for the neighboring properties. Because that seems to be really what's driving this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this cleans up the lots, okay?
Right.
So it does clean, and I don't know about you able to build a house without it. I mean, I'll take your word for it. Mr. Snyder, I never been personally involved with him, but I know he's built a lot of houses in the township and in the area. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt he wants to do the right thing. But the bottom line is we're getting a lot of complaints that he brought in a lot of dirt, and this is causing more water to go on the people's properties that live on Woodbine behind here.
Right.
Okay, and they've been living there a long time, so I think they know whether it's gonna help or not help. So I kept telling people, well, you have to wait until he does stormwater management. I didn't know about this lot change. I know this property's been for sale for 50 years.
Mr. President, if this is going to go to a continuance, I'm going to ask that the residents that are here have a point, put their concerns out right now.
Okay.
So before we go back and look at what needs to be fixed and what needs to be looked at,
Let's
we
hear
want to
from
hear
the
the neighbors' concerns also.
Yeah, and I agree. I would like to see a stormwater management plan. If you say for the lot line changes, a stormwater management plan that our engineer agrees will keep the water on these 3 houses on your property before we vote on approving it. You know, because we're not doing just a lot line, we're approving 3 houses that we want to see how you're keeping the water on these properties, how it's being done, and we want Ron to agree. that it'll work.
If I may.
And I would like to see a plan, this is what I initially was saying from the very beginning, is that in good faith, and it's quite obvious that this is the plan that makes sense. I mean, seriously, I'm not an engineer, but if I had a 5-year-old with a crown and it make me 4 boxes for houses, they would do it like
Sir,
this.
Right.
Okay, so it's obvious.
Yes.
But I would like to see from Mr. Snyder, and I'm aware of his reputation too, and it's a good reputation in Bensalem, okay? Not so much on this particular project, because of the neighbors. I don't think you've been communicating with the neighbors, and that makes sense to have a meeting with the neighbors and such. But I would like to see you go beyond, on your own, the aspect of what we're looking for in the stormwater management, and go beyond what is required, and so we can look at this and say, this is much better than we could actually expect, because that's what you want to do, because you want to be a good neighbor, not just I want to be a builder. That's what I'm looking for.
And that any development will be a benefit to the community in that area.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a nice home. It'll increase the value on that street and that neighborhood. Mr. Snyder's built houses along Galway Road, down behind Thomas's funeral home you built was a challenging lot. So, but you put ones down there that were sellable. So he builds a nice house. It's got nice square footage. It sells for a good price.
Mr. President,
It
can we
will
go to
raise
the
money.
public, please?
But can we get to the public?
I have one other item
Yeah.
too,
It-
please. Mr. Snyder, there's a pretty beat-up fence that surrounds it. At least I know, let's say, call it property C, there at the corner of Woodbine. What's your plans with that fence? Because I believe that it still lies on that property. And let me just say this. That's a relatively larger house than a lot of the other homes that are in that neighborhood, right? So it does overlook that neighborhood, especially the adjacent property. So I'm concerned about privacy.
Well, if you guys wanted me to construct a fence that did this,
No, I'm saying,
I mean,
and I agree with Mr.
you understand what I'm
Giselbeck.
saying?
I think the proposed lots, I think it makes sense. All I'm suggesting is that, or my question is, what are you going to do with the fence? If we were to approve this even at a future date, what do you plan on doing with the fence?
I will do whatever it takes to make everyone at ease.
So would you be willing to put up a PVC?
I don't even actually, I haven't looked at, and I don't want to speak out of term, so until I literally see the property lines, I believe that the people who are behind me are there.
And I believe that this is something we can talk about if we get
Yeah,
further.
I don't know if
But
it's
I'd
on
like
my
the
side
Well, I
or
still wanted to confirm that. I
Yeah,
didn't want him to come back, Mr. Valerian.
I just want to tell you guys, like, I'm not here just to come in here and just, make a quick buck and get out of here. I have been building 70 houses in Bensalem Township, and Ron Gansel can attest to that. Quentin's also, he's not in here or not, but I'll do whatever you guys, there he is.
Tom, if I may.
I'm here for you guys, and I'm even telling you, if you guys want me to take this impervious surface, whatever it is, if it's, we're only allowed 40, take 60 of it and put it under our underground retention basin, that's fine. But when we bought this property, from what I understand, these are issues that have been going on for years and years. We didn't just come here and start building this and they just started having problems. This has been going on, from what I understand, for years and years
So
and years.
for instance, if the neighbors preferred it, you would put a fence across the back.
You'd be willing to do that?
Yeah,
Thank
if
you.
it would.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready to put a motion on the floor to table it.
If I could, I just want to set the record
Neighbors
straight.
right here have a chance to
Let the
talk.
neighbors speak.
So they might not
Oh,
make
I
the
was
next.
going to have him have a meeting with him
No,
directly.
I know,
let the
they want to
neighbors
speak.
speak
Is there
on-
any, well, let's see.
I'm fine with that.
I just want to set the record straight. The
Yeah.
plans as submitted to the township do have the stormwater management on them. It is shown as the rectangle behind the house. That has been reviewed by the township engineer. The only comment was he wanted percolation tests in the soils at time construction. However, I just discussed with Mr. Snyder, that rectangle has approximately 100% the required volume by the ordinance. Mr. Snyder would be willing to go to 200%, twice the required volume for stormwater management. So we would be doing twice what would be required for the amount of impervious
We're going to
surface.
continue and talk about this. You're just dragging it
Okay,
out. I asked for
yeah,
the public.
Okay. Let the public, let the people here, any neighbors that want to come up and comment on it and have concerns. Yeah, come on up, sir. Just give your name and let us know what you're, because we don't want to reschedule it later and have your schedule be out, that you can't make it or something.
My name is Charles Combat. I live at 2499. I live at that property there that's, guess, to the left. okay? The one there beside the Monster House now overlooks me,
You live on
Okay.
On Newville Road?
on Huneville Road.
Right, okay.
Okay? I'm here to protest this for the simple reason is Mr. Polari was right. It should have been done from the get-go. He didn't do anything to help the neighbors. He put the old neighbors against the new people coming in. And the young lady that I just met who owns the corner property with water running out the back door, he said there was no water. I saw it last night. Okay, there may be the reason because it's coming off the roof, but there was water there. There's been water there. Someone else that's sitting here can explain the water problems that are there, that you've all talked about, okay? Mr. Polari asked the question 3 times, I think. Why did he choose to do this now instead of in the beginning? Well, it's 2 meetings of land development, 2 meetings with council, notifying the neighbors so that we would have had some input. He didn't do it. Why did he didn't do it? Because it costs money. It's as simple as that. This attitude that, oh, I'll help you, he didn't do from the get-go. Now what do? I have a house that's on top of me. May I ask Ron Gantz, my property is before the 54 rules. They put my driveway literally on the property line because of a telephone pole. 60 years ago. I've been there 60 years. One neighbor's been there 30 years. Their back windows, now the new house on the corner looks right through them, literally. They have to close their blinds now because people can actually see through their house, okay? Didn't try to do this. My property's on the property line, okay? Can I ask Mr. Gantz, how far are they supposed to be away from my property line? I believe it's 9 feet, okay?
It says 11 on here, but I don't know whether it's correct.
Side yard setback of 11 feet.
Okay.
That's required in a setback.
Okay, they put a door on the side of the garage. They built a walkway and a step to that door. It's 4 feet from my property line. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, I thought they had to be 9 feet away.
No, the structure.
Just the structure, but it's okay to do that and put 2 heat pumps 5 feet from my property line at my living room window that I have to listen to now.
It's permitted.
It's okay.
It was okay, it's permitted.
Well, it's permitted. Well, this is the answer that you guys have to now decide. Do you reward him for doing this the back way? When he didn't even think about us. Now, there's somebody else here that knows the water management better than I do. Golf course, floods Huneville Road and Woodbine. There's a natural creek from Street Road between the houses of Huneville Road and June that comes right there. There is a collapsed gutter, or not a gutter, a drainage in that 4th property, the one that's in the middle, that collapsed 20 years ago. I can show you the drainage. I know exactly where they are. They collapsed a long time ago. Water management, all of that should have been addressed the first time. And if now you're going to reward them, I just don't see it. Somehow, you township should have done something prior to this, because the young lady I met was apologizing to us for causing us a problem. We don't have a problem with the new owners. We have a problem with the builder who didn't care. So I don't know exactly what you can do. I'm stuck. I have nothing I can do about it. As the man just said, it's legal. But hopefully something can be done to make the area better, not worse, and maybe stop something like this in the future. He said he's built 70 houses. The 70 people that live near this agree with me or agree with that he did a real good job. So I hope you find a way to not reward him, okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Elliott. I live on Woodbine Avenue, and part of their lot is behind me, and it's landlocked. I'd like to know what your plans are for those two back lots.
You want, no, well,
Ms. Elliott? Okay, we don't get a conversation with the comment. You can ask us the questions. and then
Oh, okay, I'm
we
sorry.
can vote on
Yeah,
it.
I would like to know what their plans are for the back lots, because it is a swamp. I've lived there for 48 years, and we've put up with it for 48 years. And it'll take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to dry that ground out when we have rain. And number two, the people, I understand the houses that are built are already sold. Is that correct? And if it is, do these people know now that, oh, I don't have as much ground as what I paid for? Oh, I got this whole bunch of ground. I don't want it. Were they contacted to make sure that?
Yes, a lot of involved.
Yeah. I mean, and you've kind of answered some of the questions, the other questions that I had. So, but they were the two, basically what they plan on doing with the ground in the back. I don't want a retention basin back there, because it's bad enough now just with the ground, with the mosquitoes in the summertime. And you get a retention basin back there, we're going to have all kinds of insects and bugs.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
My name is Geraldine Ryan. I live at 1702 Woodbine Avenue. Geraldine Ryan. I've been here for 32 years. My husband's family's been here since 1950. Last year, Joyce and I came to the mayor about when we heard they were going to build about the water problems. We gave the mayor the pictures of what happens to our property. We met with, and we also had signatures. We met with, he sent an engineer out with us. And when I explained the water problems to that engineer, he understood after he came and saw it. Since he's built there, I have more water. My lot is 100 feet wide by 320 feet deep, and in a heavy rain, I get 250 feet worth of water in my backyard. Flows to Shirley's, flows down West Bensalem, which has 2 drains down the end of Bensalem, and floods Forest Avenue. When is it going to stop? When is the golf course going to stop flooding us? And the second thing is, I saw in the meeting, the mayor said there was nothing in the plans, but I saw you approve no sidewalks, but curbing. When you put that curb in, do you know where that water from that golf course is going to go? To the drains that are collapsing in that field. That field is a swamp. The trees de-root. I've asked Mr. Snyder to please, there's 2 dead trees down there from the ash borers, which I'm waiting to fall on my yard, and 2 that are growing this way to get sun when they de-root. It's going to wipe out my whole garage and my flower bed. There's been no consideration for us neighbors at all. He's lied to us. I've talked to this man, and everything was a lie. He told me this was already done last year. And how did we get from 4 lots to 3 now? When did he change that? 4th lot was landlocked all these years.
And is there another one going to be built?
I mean, that lot was completely landlocked back there. We had 4 lots, now we're down to 3. And now he wants to do this. Somebody has to do something about the water, and we need privacy. He took all them trees down, he needs to plant trees. We're supposed to be a city of trees. Give us some trees back there, and take the dead ones out. And fix the pipe under the ground that holds all the water. Because when that curbing goes in, that drain is going to flood everybody. Because there's 4 drains that goes into 1 pipe that's dilapidated underground. I get bubbles that come out of my backyard because that runs all the way to Forest Avenue, that pipe. So who's going to fix it? And if you go to Forest Avenue and ask the guy to split level, he had to be rescued from the fire company one time in a heavy rain because there was 6 foot of water on Forest Avenue. We need something done. I've come to the mayor several times. He has all the pictures he needs of that flooding that comes through there. Knee deep in water on Woodbine Avenue. So now we got front and back. And since he's built, we get more. And the one house next to Charlie, the ground is raised by at least 6 feet. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Joyce Combat. I live at 2499 Huonville Road. I am so disappointed. I thought when something like this was going to happen, we, the neighbors, would have a chance to come up and give you our grievances, whatever. Okay, we're fair people. It's a beautiful community. We want people to move in here, in this community. But the way this deal was handled is disgusting. And you know what? It's embarrassing to every one of you, I think. I've lived here all my life. My husband knows you people personally, and nothing, no consideration for anything. We wanted 3 little feet so that my husband can put the snow on the side. Okay, we couldn't get 3 feet, but now he wants to make more changes. That's okay, but we couldn't get 3 feet. It's just so wrong, and I hope maybe you people will see that people do have feelings. We love this community, and we love our new neighbors. Our neighbor came over yesterday and introduced herself. She was in tears. She said, "Why is there water coming out of our house?" "I don't know." I said, "I don't know." I asked my husband to speak to her. He didn't know. We don't really know. We're not builders, but it just seems like she's apologizing for living there or wanting to live there. But now she doesn't want to live there because she just found out that there's going to be a house between her. There's 2 now. She didn't know that there's going to be a 3rd house. Now, how could she not know that there's going to be a house there? It seems like everything's like hush-hush, and nobody cares about anybody else. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Good evening. My name's Steve Smalley. I'm 1726 Woodbine. I'm right next to, I'm the first house. 1726 Woodbine. I have 3 concerns. One is the sump pump. Where will the water be pumped? Because I also have a sump pump that always runs. And if it's getting pumped where it leaches into my house, then that'll never end. My second concern is the elevation of the new home, and they're beautiful homes, is so much higher than, and thank you for bringing up a fence, that I would probably need like arborvitaes or some tall trees, because if you're in that property, you are looking like at my whole house. My back porch, my bedrooms, I have a hot tub on my deck. That's my second concern. My third concern is there's a power line that runs down that middle property, and I was just curious where that would be relocated, hopefully not over my yard or, through the neighbor's yards or anything. So that was my 3 concerns. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, yeah, Mr. Snyder, I don't know if Mr. Snyder answers these questions, or, so the one on the house to the right, which you built, okay? The one question is, what's going on with the back lots? Is that going to be a retention basin back there? Is that just going to remain the same? So it's just going to be vacant ground?
Well, as in its current state, it's just going to be vacant ground. And
I guess that's the back of the second lot, right?
yeah, so this is like, we're calling it lot number 4. So what we do is that we have, 1, 2, 3, 4 lots. So this here would be vacant. We have a little.
Grab the mic, Tom.
I'm sorry. I ain't marked cord there, or do you give me the cord this one? I'm sorry about that. I can move to the side, yeah, it's fine. So what we have is a limit of disturbance, which my engineer was speaking about. We can only come in and disturb so much, and so when they're asking us to come back further, we only have a limited disturbance. So the limited disturbance is approximately right back in here.
All right. What about the lots that are behind Mr. Smalley's house and Mr. Elliott's house?
These 2 lots here, they're going to remain wooded as they were before we started there. They're going to remain untouched.
You don't have any plans for that?
No, these properties here, we're not doing any grading actually behind this lot, which would be behind Smalley's.
So there would be no retention basin behind Miss Elliott's house or Mr. Smalley's house?
No.
Okay. And then the next question was, the buyer who purchased that house on the right, did they know about the lot line changes?
Correct, yes.
So they're aware that there could be added property to their lots, or
Yeah, there was explained to them that, well, the people that they're referring to on the corner, it's only that little section of the pie that's in the front, and she's fully well aware of that. And they were all aware of that. We were applying to go for, well, we already applied for the permits for the third house. So they're already in your guys' township.
Third house being built in between.
They are all aware of that, correct? It would be impossible for us to give it to them the way that it's done, even if we wanted to. So it's like,
And what about power lines? Are you moving power lines that are going to affect this?
well, that's another issue. The power lines that are back here are so dilapidated and everything. I have proposed to Pico and Verizon to have the pole relocated over to the front on Untitled Road here, actually, and then it'll go back to here. So it's not going to be running on a 45-degree angle through these lots. The telephone pole is going to be moved to the front of 2509 Untitled Road.
And it won't go near Mr. Smalley's property?
No, it'll be further away from Mr. Smalley's property.
Okay. And then the other question was, okay, so would you, as we further discussed, would you be willing to consider shrubbery, arborvitae's, PVC fencing, something to help the neighbors with the blockage?
Well, I'd have to, yes, I could agree to that tonight, but I'd have to furtherly look into it to make sure that I have access to their property to go on their property and do it, because it's more complicated than just installing a fence.
Mr. Knowles, I think these are all things that we can talk about
Okay.
when we continue it, and we move forward. These are things we
need
can
to have a
talk
meeting
about.
with the
We
neighbors
know
and
what
make
the
sure
issues
it's
are.
fine,
Let's continue the meeting. The neighbors had their chance to speak. Now we know what's going on. We know what the problems are with the neighbors. What our own problems with it are that, we're now changing something that should have been done in the beginning, but at least we have an idea where we are now. We can sit down and do what we should have done in the beginning.
Okay, Mr. Kisselback, do you have a motion to table this? How much time do you think you would need to speak with the neighbors and then readjust your, yeah?
Well, I'm not necessarily sure that we'll be able to make them at ease, but I mean, for their store.
Well, you got to try.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, I'm willing to try, yeah.
Would think 60 to 90 days.
Okay,
Either,
okay.
whichever is more convenient for council.
I want to put a motion on the floor to table this until a date certain. I would like to make it for June 24th, which is 30 days. And that would give you an opportunity, a fairly quick opportunity to make a meeting with the residents, to talk to them in a short time. And if you need to extend it beyond that point, then we can revise it and change it to a July date. That way you have something to work forward to in a fairly quick manner, as well as addressing the issues at hand. I think you've heard them all, or many of them. And, there's certain things that can't be finished and can't be resolved because, again, you went ahead and did your thing without consulting the neighbors, as opposed to maybe this is a lesson learned, to get the input from the neighbors prior to, as opposed to assuming that just because you're in a letter of law, you're adhering to the spirit of law, which I don't think you were, or really are at this time.
I'll second the motion.
I introduced myself to all of them before I started.
Then why do we have that, then we have that, all right, I have a motion on the floor. I have a motion on the floor.
And I seconded it.
We have a
Yeah.
second on the motion.
Okay, all in favor of moving this to a date certain of June 24th, say aye.
Vote aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so, well, June 24th, and you're going to have to do a better job of communicating and trying to.
And if I
Work
could,
it out.
just so
Yeah, we need anything else?
the applicant is clear, one of the things that I heard that I want to make sure I heard correctly, the applicant has heard, is that council is looking for a comprehensive stormwater management plan for all three.
Right, if he's willing to go 200%,
all three
let's see it.
parcels. Because we've heard that there is stormwater right now in place for the lot. For the one lot, there's one, Quentin is telling me, in place for the corner lot. What you want to see happen is all of those integrated. There's apparently a stormwater easement with a pipe that wasn't discussed during this meeting, but it runs through at least two of those properties. That may be something that needs to be addressed as well, so.
And then Bucks County Water and Sewer's got to look at what collapsed pipes are in the area and not draining properly. Sanitary, okay. Okay,
This is stormwater management.
okay. All right, so we'll see you on the 24th. Hopefully it'll work out, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Ron, you're gonna, I'm assuming you're doing that now. You're making some kind of tentative agreement with the neighbors and the builders so they can get together?
Well, I would like the attorney to schedule a meeting with all the residents and the builder.
All right, do you have a
Debbie,
front
do you have
person
your,
to talk to?
Deb, do you have your book with, you can take the names and addresses of the people?
But there's gotta be one person. It could be a front person for all of them, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah. If Debbie can get your name, Mrs. Elliott, if Debbie can get your name and number so she can contact you, and we're going to try to arrange some kind of meeting. And then if one of you want to be the front person, that's fine, but, okay? Just make sure she gets her, I do remember him asking for a little room for getting it to his driveway. I don't know why that wasn't. Okay. She said she sent you pictures.
Just copy of pictures?
Yeah, that she sent to you.
Well, the people who's doing the work need to see
Okay.
the pictures.
Yeah.
I think. We're not gonna make a decision on.
Yeah, we'll get them to Mr. Snyder so he knows, he can address it. Okay, number 8 on the agenda is consideration of an amended final land development for Street Road Outdoor LLC, and this is the, Ron, this is the adjustment to the fence?
Yes.
Is that the only adjustment that they're
Yes,
making, is the
there's,
agreed upon change to the fence?
An additional sheet added to the plan, number 19. It's called the fence plan. I believe you are all familiar with that plan. And to make a long story short, the zoning officer has stated that the highest fence proposed is 6.5 feet, which meets our ordinance and will not require a variance from the zoning hearing board.
Okay, and then they're going with the 6 foot with the rollers on top so
Yes.
nobody can climb the fence?
Yes. That's correct.
Okay, as we had discussed. Okay, so we all went over this fence change. Does anybody have any questions for the applicants in reference to the fence change?
I do.
If I can just introduce myself, Mr.
Okay, I'm
President.
sorry.
Rob Dunlock, attorney for the applicant here, Catalyst. Ari Christakis here as well, the representative for the applicant. And just by way of brief background, we were here in March. You had a number of questions. Ultimately, you recommended approval, subject to 19 or so conditions. We have revised the plans to address all the conditions except for one, which we're here to discuss with you, and that is fence height. Our bad, we didn't do, I think, a good enough job in presenting the different fences and the details, and so Ari went back and worked up this new sheet 19, which shows every fence at every location, every height, the detail for it, so there's no misunderstanding as to what fence is going where. He can explain it for you better than myself. But on top, as Mr. President just acknowledged, we are putting rollers on there. So it's 6 foot plus the half-foot roller. The roller prevents dogs or other animals from jumping and crossing a fence. We also did some research and found out that the Guinness Book of World Record for dog jumping is 6.29 feet, and that dog does not reside here in Bensalem Township. So
We didn't have rollers either.
we didn't have that information the last time we were here, and it didn't have the roller on top. So I believe that we also, Ari went out and did a chart, which we submitted to your staff, showing all the other area dog parks.
And that
Here it is up there.
The picture of the wrought iron one with the roller, if you could do that?
Yes.
That's the fence you're talking about.
That's what it's gonna look like.
The rollers are also keep other animals from getting in.
Yeah, like here.
That's correct. So, sorry, sir, I cut you off
No, it's
when
okay.
I was
Actually, can you
introducing.
go back one slide? I want to see that chart. Or maybe it's,
Wrong direction.
there you go. Okay. My concern with this proposed fence plan is you have a type 2 fence outlined here in orange.
Yes.
4 foot high fence for the small dog area and the dog water feature. That should be 6 feet high. What we discussed last time was having the taller fence surrounding the area where large dogs were going to be. I'm not concerned about the small dogs jumping over a 4 foot high fence. I'm concerned about large dogs jumping into the area to get to the small dogs.
I see. Okay, but that's fine if we want to make that the same consistent 6 foot height all around it.
I believe that's necessary, and that because I think the concerns are the same regardless.
Sure. So just to be clear, the fence
I don't
fence
think you need a
lines.
type 2 fence at all. I think that should be a,
So our preference would be not to include the rollers along that fence line because the corners are cut to be aesthetic.
Understood.
It's difficult to put them in on the corner there. So those would be 6-foot tall fences where
Without
indicated in
the roller.
orange. Right.
That's the
without
orange
roller.
fence, Ari?
The orange fence, correct.
So we propose one amendment to the sheet 19 that you'd be willing to accept, is the orange fence would be a flat 6 feet with no rollers on top.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions? We had kind of gone over this, but.
Why is it different? I mean, I don't want to belabor this any more than it has been because I'm having doggy dreams now, you know? Why is it difficult to put rollers on the diagonals?
It creates a gap. So
Sure,
the
there'll be
way,
a gap, but you have the rollers there for 90% of it.
well, that's the idea. What we don't want to have is any discontinuity along the roller because if a dog gets its paw caught in
Fine,
it,
good
then
enough,
it's.
fine, fine.
Okay.
You answered my question.
And it's 6 foot, and the dogs will be in there with their owners at that point, and it'd be stopping them from, preventing them from going to the
Sure.
small dog area.
Yeah.
Okay, so it won't be dogs escaping? you know? Okay.
This is where all the fun is. This is where all the dogs are in the pool is. Who wants to escape from there?
Okay.
Dogs in the loose.
I'll take your word
Are
for
you guys
it.
planning a movie for this?
Is there anything?
Do we make all these things difficult, or is it just me?
Yeah, we make
sitting
it
up here?
difficult.
Now, we should have included this sheet last time we was here. I think
Aye.
we spent.
Okay, we did have a
Color-coded.
meeting about this, so, is there any other questions from council? Is there's anybody here that wanted to speak for or against this fence change? Okay, hearing nobody speak, we have the one change which Mr. Sloan suggested, which is being done. You have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was two changes, actually, consolidated with the one that already suggested.
Yeah, the orange.
I'll make the motion.
The orange. Okay, so you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended plan with the corner areas of the 6-foot fence without the rollers and revising the remainder of the perimeter of the fence to 6 feet with the rollers as proposed.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Before you call the
Okay, I'm sorry,
the question,
Pazzo.
just so that it's clear.
Clean it up.
Other than that, all of the conditions of your minor land development and lot consolidation approval that were previously granted will remain in effect, as will the conditions of the conditional use approval previously granted by council as well.
Okay,
And my motion states the same.
okay, and the second's amended?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All
Thank
right,
you.
Good
Thank
luck, okay, it's gonna be nice.
Wait till the cat owners get to us.
Okay, consideration of final land development plan, Faith Unity, 3580 Richelieu Road, zone, I'm injured. So,
I saw that.
zone religious institutions. You can take the same from out of the boy, but not the boy out of the same. Religious institution, it's lot 21552. Look at 11 brothers and sisters, I've been hit with those a lot.
Joe, you have to take a break?
Good evening. My name is Stanton Kelton. I represent Faith Unity. I have with me Mahbub Khan, who is the president of Faith Unity, my engineer, Anthony Broomton, and my traffic engineer, Andy Heinrich.
You need to use the microphone, Stan, so we can...
Stan, you gotta use the microphone.
All right, excuse me.
Okay?
I thought I could project pretty well.
Well, you can, but it's being recorded on TV, so other people review this. See, people can't make it, so we get a chance to see it on TV.
Excuse me, one more.
Legal pad.
Do you have plans but you can project onto the screen?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not up to the modern world.
You're doing okay.
We have it,
Ron, is that not part of
somewhat
our-
of a picture there.
Is that not part of our, it's part of what we require, so if it's required and it's not here, then they're not doing their job, right? Thank you.
Is it required?
Yes, it is, sir, it's been required, so that the public at home can see exactly what we're seeing It's supposed to be on both screens, what you're showing on the TV screen, and I think whoever your engineer is would have been asked for that and required it from them. And you
Well,
should have known that as
I'm sorry,
well.
I didn't know that. I know we did submit electronic filings with,
That's not what we're asking for. You're supposed to have it so that it can be shown on screen for the public to see.
yeah, right. What's your pleasure? Do you want to go ahead tonight? I mean, we're
Yeah,
prepared.
go ahead, let's see what you have here.
Do you have an electronic plan down the building?
Mr. Pizzo, are we required to make them come back with the proper,
One second.
okay.
If you'd like, Mr. Neering can go check down in building planning and see if the electronic file, why don't you take a
Okay,
5-minute
let's take a
recess?
5-minute break, because I kind of need to take a break anyway. And then we'll see if we can get this set up for
I
you.
appreciate
and-
that.
And if not, we'll meet again. Okay.
I will try again. Luckily, my client is more into this century than I am, and therefore came up with something.
Question whether we can continue or not, but that's left for attorneys. We don't have attorneys working on this.
All right.
So it's good we got it done, and that's great.
Thank you.
Mr. Knowles, before we proceed, I just want to remind, two bits of housekeeping. One, this hearing had originally been advertised for a prior date certain. The meeting to which it had been advertised was postponed, and so what happened was the applicant sent out new letters to all of the adjacent property owners, letting them know that the meeting had been rescheduled to tonight, or May 28th. So the notices to the adjacent property owners are in order. Secondly, I just want to remind council, particularly because a couple members weren't here previously, that this property has already gone through preliminary land development approval. The township granted preliminary approval back in November of 2015. So tonight is final land development approval, which essentially would be going through Ron's review memo to see what issues are still outstanding from preliminary approval, and any other issues that might still be open. I know that the impact fee has been calculated for the property. Mr. Kelton will be providing that to you. The Impact Fee Advisory Committee has not yet adopted that number, but it is the recommended number from the township traffic engineer. And in any event, you'll hear from Mr. Kelton that the applicant will pay the traffic impact fee in whatever amount it's finally determined by the Impact Fee Advisory Board. So I just wanted to bring council up to speed on those two issues.
Mr. President, can I just ask a quick question,
Yeah.
Mr. Pizzo? Mr. Pizzo, since you brought it up, just purely for informational purposes, there was already a preliminary land approval on this. Is there anything that states if or when that would expire? I mean, how long do we allow a preliminary before then it's got to go and have another look-see? And in addition to the fact that I noticed there are a couple of variances that were part of that, and same question with them.
Taking them in reverse order, I believe that once the council granted the preliminary approval, that would have addressed any issues regarding the timeliness of the variances. Insofar as the timeliness of the land development approval itself goes, under the MPC, plans enjoy a 5-year window of protection against subsequent changes to any township ordinances. In this case, and that's from the time that they are submitted to the township up to the point in time when the township acts upon them. Subsequently, once the township acts upon it, the applicant has, I believe, the same 5-year period to bring the preliminary forward for final. So I believe that this applicant is within that window. The final land development is subject to a separate application that was filed, I believe, sometime in 2017 or early 2018. The final
This final was filed in January of this year.
Oh, January of this year, okay. So they are within that window.
And I think a lot of this had to do with not problems with the project, but fundraising in general.
Well, there's also been a lot of, too long, but a lot of interaction. We haven't been sitting on our hands entirely for the last couple of years dealing with PennDOT because we were back and forth and changes from the original plan. It was part of it's the same picture, the same layout as was approved, but the changes were, for example, and I'm not an engineer, one of the things was we originally had on the driveway to the east there to the right, an in and out there, and that was made just to be an in driveway, one of many changes. But they were all, we've had these discussions with PennDOT since our preliminary approval. Also addressing what this gentleman said, I don't know your name, but that there was only one zoning variance, and this was granted in April of 2015 before we purchased the property, and that variance was simply as to the woodland. This property is entirely covered with woods, and we had to get a variance because we couldn't build if we were required to have 50% wood on it. So the variance we got was for 20%, or it's odd, it's on the plan, it's like 22%, and that's basically the piece of land in the upper left corner, which is going to be kept as just untouched woodland. I guess it will be cleaned up, but that's the variance, and that variance has been extended every 2 years, keeping eye on that. So it's been extended twice, and it was just extended this last April by the zoning hearing board for another 2 years. So that's still good as well.
Okay.
But that's the only variance, and that was just a dimensional.
Just to be clear, I was mentioning, and again, I was just asking for my own benefit, but the variance as well as a waiver, I think there's a waiver of partial sidewalks.
Yes, there's a list of 5 waivers on the plan, and it's in Mr. Gans's letter.
Okay, so they're still good, so let's, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there next?
If I can do last things first here, too. The only thing that has happened in terms of changes since the preliminary approval was that we, as stated, we've spent a certain amount of time with traffic planning and design, working out a impact fee statement. And part of that was that since this was an unusual case, we agreed with them to study 3 other mosque sites in this area to get an idea of what comparable traffic flow was during the peak hours. And then we got a average from those studies, those 3 different places. We finally got that completed in April, I guess it was, March and April, and came up with an average number of 6. And so the impact fee was determined by traffic planning design on May the 9th of $6,936.93, and that's 7 trips times 990.99, which, as some of you might know, is the $990.99 is the impact fee for District 4, which this is. And that is in a letter from Bill Zadrovich of Traffic Planning and Design. I can hand you copies of that if you don't have it, or
It's okay, but do you agree with their estimation?
Yeah, we will agree with that estimation. I assume that, I'm assuming that it has to be, it has to be approved officially by the impact fee board. I understand they haven't gotten to it because of the holidays or something.
Okay, but you agree that it'll be that or whatever the impact fee comes to a conclusion of?
I would agree unless they were to go way out the other, I mean, this was based on data, so if they were to come in with some bizarre high figure, much higher than that, I would,
Okay, we have to come back.
I'd have to look.
Is this
at-
your conclusion or the
This is- no, this is-
engineer, our engineer's conclusion?
This is your engineers, I can hand you the document.
All right.
I would think the impact fee is going to follow. But give it to Ed if he wants
Thanks.
to look at it.
Thank you, Stan.
I have a few more. And I have Mr. Heinrich here to discuss that as well, if you wish. I would have to ask for you that letter back in a minute.
Okay, we'll give it back to you.
Thank you.
May he start?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. We're talking about, yeah.
Well, if I could maybe help you, Mr. Kelton. So as to the traffic impact fee question, Township engineer has weighed in and made a recommendation to our Impact Fee Advisory Board.
Right.
The applicant will comply with the determinations of the Impact Fee Advisory Board unless they are wholly inconsistent with the recommendations of the Township Traffic Engineer. Is that a fair statement, Mr.
Yes,
Mr. Kelton? Okay.
I mean, obviously, if they,
Do you-
something bizarre,
Okay, well,
like,
let's not worry about the
Do you-
bizarre.
Do you have a copy of Mr. Gann's review memorandum of
Yes, we do.
January 23rd?
and I just, while we're on that subject, there's plan comments at the bottom of the traffic planning and design. We will comply with those various plan comments. In fact, we've already got the plans ready for that. The full access driveway would have painted crossings, and obviously, we are in the process of getting our highway occupancy permit, and the other items there would be a comply. And
So you intend to comply with all of the comments
all
of the
the
Township
comments.
Traffic
and
Engineer?
The signal comments, Mr. the, Traffic Engineer has already, Andy Heinrich has already addressed and is getting plans ready. for
Mr.
this.
Gans, before you hand that letter over, what's the date of that letter from TPD?
May 9th, 2019.
Thank you.
And with,
Joe, help him along.
And then as to Mr. Gans' memorandum of January 23rd, if perhaps you could jump to section D. We've already discussed the zoning. You have a variance. That variance is still in place.
yeah, yes,
So if
the
we-
zoning is correct. That variance, as I mentioned, has just been renewed and for another 2 years.
Okay. So as to section D, that lists 5 waivers that had been previously granted by the township in the time of the preliminary plan approval. You're still requesting those 5 waivers, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Can we get any, for those of us that were not here when this was granted in 2015, any explanation as to the justification for those waivers?
Mr. Gans?
The first one is the pipe type, and the minimum diameter in our code for pipe is 18 inches. However, this is interior pipe within the parking lot area and not applicable to our highways.
Okay.
Number 2, the curb and sidewalk along the frontage of Richelieu Road. The council granted approval of that waiver.
In lieu of payment?
In lieu of, fee in lieu of course. Is that correct, Mr. Kelton?
Yeah, I might point out, this was originally put together as a subdivision, so there's a Lot 1 and Lot 2, and under the ordinance, as I understand it, technically you'd be required to put curbing along the part of Lot 1 as well. But that's the cemetery that was left behind. So we're really talking about just Lot 2, and of course, we're having the curbs and sidewalks on our 6-acre, which is Lot 2, but we're not, the part we broke off from, we're not putting curbs and sidewalks along that.
That's actually item 3, what you're talking about, the Lot 1 and Lot 2.
Right.
Yes.
Can you specify on the drawing exactly where that is? Because it looks like you've got sidewalks specified on there. So I'm not quite sure what this is a waiver for.
Along
The
Gallery
frontage
Road.
along, no, it says the frontage along Richelieu Road.
Frontage along Richelieu.
Okay.
This, when you read on there about Lot 2, that's this part here with 6.1 acres approximately, which is broken off from the entire Rosekill Cemetery. So when we did the subdivision, this was Lot 1, this was Lot 2. And so what we're saying is we're putting curbs and sidewalks along here, but we're not putting them down here on the property that's no longer ours. It never was ours, but that was
So
technically
it's,
Lot 1 and so.
so the waiver is not really applicable since you're putting in curbs and sidewalks along your property, along Richelieu, correct?
So there would be,
Number 2, you will
you don't
comply.
own Lot 2 anymore, right?
No, we don't own Lot 1.
We don't.
I'm on one.
Okay, so the second waiver here does no longer apply, correct?
You'll comply with number 2, that's what I say.
Number
based on
4,
what you
too.
just
Well,
said.
there's, the waiver is no longer necessary.
No,
That's
if
what
I
you
may,
just said.
if I may explain that.
Sure.
Yeah, my name? Anthony Brunken, Brunkan. Item 2, the partial waiver for curb and sidewalk would technically still apply to the tiny sliver on the left-hand side of the plan that you're seeing, just along the road there.
Just the other side of the
There's an
driveway?
irregular kind of triangle that comes down towards Richelieu Road, and there's no sidewalk proposed right on that little segment.
So it's just a little, probably like a 2-foot?
Because there's nothing to connect to as you head towards the cemetery.
Understood.
Right, okay, so that waiver's for that. Now, what about number 4? It says the requirement to provide sidewalks along the frontage of Richelieu, along,
Mr. Gans, you're going over these, right?
Yes.
okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you, is there a question about number 4? Or
Well, let's do 3 first.
Well,
That's it.
I'm just
Sorry.
trying to understand the justification behind all of these, and Mr. Gans was giving me the background.
So do number 3.
So we've got through number 3, number 4. Actually, it looks like number 3 and 4 are the same waiver.
Yeah.
So I apologize for that. It's the same waiver as 3, so that's not applicable.
Okay, so they're paying in lieu of the small area on Richelieu Road that they're not putting curbs and sidewalks, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think you agree with them that they would not be required to put them on Lot 1, which is not their lot.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's not their lot.
course.
Why are we even
I
repeating?
don't even know why that was here in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then the allowable slope in the detention basin on item 5 is strictly a maintenance issue. We put it in for their benefit of maintenance, but that we do allow a lesser slope if they understand that it could be more difficult to maintain and may want to plant plantings instead of grass on those slopes.
Okay, so it shouldn't affect the function of those basins, those detention areas?
It will what?
It should not affect the
No,
function
no,
of those
it will not.
detention areas?
It's
Okay,
just- It will not have to be mowed like grass.
understood. Okay, thank you.
So just to confirm, we have sidewalks along most of Richelieu, but not Galloway?
We don't own along Galloway at all.
No,
The
they don't
lot
own
doesn't-
Galway.
There's a piece there in between, okay.
Yeah,
There's
the
a lot-
guy from the cemetery behind them owns a sliver that goes along Galway Road,
Got it.
King David.
I didn't realize he still owned a piece of that.
Yeah, he does, yeah. They did try to buy it, but he wouldn't sell it to them, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then as to Section E of Mr. Gann's letter, that is all just commentary. There are no issues that Mr. Gans has identified that are outstanding vis-à-vis the stormwater management plan. Is that correct, Mr. Gans?
No, there is a question on paragraph number 1. The calculations do not reference the vegetated swales and refer to a seepage bed not shown on the plan. These calculations must be clarified.
It's my understanding that there is a seepage bed underneath the play area that in the upper right corner, if I'm correct. And that,
All right, maybe it wasn't shown on the plan then.
It's actually beneath the large field that you see in the
Okay.
right-hand corner of the lot.
And-
It would be all stone.
All right, we can get together and
And-
settle that issue.
Okay, you'll clarify that with the
That would be-
township engineer?
it just has to be, yeah, and yes, clarified.
That'll be clarified to the satisfaction of the township engineer, correct?
Right. And those are the only comments except on the next page.
And then under the miscellaneous comments, item 1 as to plan book and page number, that'll be, that's a will comply, correct?
They just have to, yeah, they
Yes.
picked up the old, I think they picked up the old deed number from the subdivision, and it should be the new instrument number for the deed when we got the property.
Your engineer will add the signature blocks on sheet 2 as well.
That's
That's
correct.
a will comply. You've already stated that you will comply with all of the comments and requirements of the township traffic engineer.
Yes.
As to item 4, you'll comply with the determinations of the township fire marshal as to the turning and fire lane plans, correct?
Yeah, I think my engineer tells me we've already had a conversation with them. I haven't seen a report, but
Perfect.
Okay, you'll comply.
we'll comply, yes.
You'll comply with the county conservation district in regard to your erosion and sediment control plans, correct?
Yes.
And as to the stormwater easement agreement, we will be preparing, my office will be preparing a stormwater management and maintenance agreement, and you will obviously enter into that agreement as a condition of approval.
Let me just ask you a question on what that refers to. There is I already did in 2016, a easement for the upper left corner of the property. The upper left corner of the property is draining onto the cemetery property. And that was a requirement in the original planning, preliminary approval. And I already did a easement for that. I ran it by Ed Rudolph and I filed it. I could
Okay.
send you a copy.
This will be a blanket easement over the entire property just for the maintenance of the
Oh, okay,
stormwater
different.
facilities.
All right. Thank you.
Certainly. And that's required by state law under the NPDES
All right.
regulations.
Okay, that's it.
Do you have a question, Mr. Gantz? Oh. Mr. Gantz? I have a question as far as the water management is concerned. How confident are we that we're not going to see additional issues with water runoff? I know it's been a common theme here this evening. And the reason why I ask is I'm not an engineer, but I drive Ridgely Road every single day. And to that note, also, I'd like to also note the Environmental Advisory Board's concerns as well with the runoff that goes down. And that Ridgely Road, I'm sure you're familiar with it, it dips down on both ends. And right at the edge of the property there, there's a lot of puddling there. And I believe there's a pipe there, and I believe that might be owned by the Turnpike. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know there's some flooding issues there at that particular spot.
Well, the pipe will be state highway if it's Richland Road. But all of the water from this site is directed to 3 or 4 different types of stormwater management, underground.
I did notice the underground base.
Swales. So the laws require that no increased runoff rate from the site after development. And if you look at the charts on the page under stormwater management that demonstrates there's 2 drainage areas. And if you look at the pre-development and post-development runoff rates, you'll see they're all less than the present runoff. So
it's
we're
improved.
comfortable that they've met all the requirements.
Let me add something to that. We just, at the very end of this in September, we agreed with PennDOT to drain the lower left corner of the property, and that's going down the creek and a right-of-way down the street. We had originally tried to get a swale through the cemetery down to the creek and couldn't get an easement from them, so we made an agreement with PennDOT to whatever pipe they required to do a drainage from our property that goes down to the creek, and that's in the plans as amended.
Drain, so is that going to run underneath Richelieu?
It's going to run a pipe through Richelieu down to the creek, and we have granted an easement to PennDOT to do that already.
Okay.
And it's part of our PennDOT plan.
Okay, could you also itemize those items that you had discussed with and/or adding to this plan with PennDOT? Was there anything additional that PennDOT is requiring part of this plan?
I can't itemize everything they're requiring. We're complying with all the things that PennDOT are asking us to do.
Maybe you could have Andy
Yeah.
address that.
I don't, if Andy understands the question.
No, I'm sorry,
Andy.
Mr. Heinrich. What were the PennDOT changes? that
My
they-
name's Andy Heinrich, Heinrich. The PennDOT plans had, as was already discussed, a slight change on the one driveway, and then most of the other comments, at least from a traffic point of view, had to do with the sidewalk meeting ADA requirements, and because we were coming out at the intersection, we had to revise the traffic signal plan for the intersection to upgrade the crossing for where the sidewalks come to that one intersection. I think that was besides
pretty much
what
it.
Anthony was
Anything about
talking
left turn lanes or decel lanes?
No, because of all the traffic volume, the trip generation, and the traffic impact fee issues, the peak hours of this facility is in the middle of the afternoon on a Friday, when the traffic is much lower than your normal rush hours. Your traffic impact fee is based on your normal rush hours. So we will be generating very little traffic. The number was 7, a total of 7 trips on average during the afternoon rush hour. That's a drop in the bucket. That you're going to see those kind of changes hour by hour, day to day, and not notice it. So the impact on the operation of the signal and so forth was nil. So like I said, since we were bringing a sidewalk to the intersection, we had to provide for
So you
the
agreed, he agreed to
accommodations.
do all that work?
And
Yes.
anything PennDOT suggested or made aware of you've agreed to and done?
Yes,
Okay.
the revised plan, your traffic engineer had 2 other, mostly drafting cleanup comments with the signal plan with this last time. We've already made those changes and are about to resubmit.
Okay.
And does that include a left-hand turn lane or left turn light on, from Galloway onto Richelieu?
We are making no changes to the way the signal operates. What you see today is what will continue. Like I said, we don't affect the rush hours, so our impacts, there's no need for mitigation or anything like that. So what's out there today, like I said, we're just changing some of the ADA requirements for the intersection.
Understood.
Let me step in on that. PennDOT told us to put those left-hand turn signals in.
They told us to do it?
Told me that they were doing that. That's part of the project, the left-hand
Okay.
turn
Yeah.
signal.
I think we had discussed that last meeting.
That's what I was
And
trying to
sometime in the fall?
Well, whenever they, yeah.
No, it wouldn't be dependent on the project here, right? PennDOT's doing that regardless.
PennDOT's doing that,
Right. Okay, when can we expect that to go in?
I can ask PennDOT to kind of give us dates.
Well, we've already approved that application to go through.
Yeah.
So that's in the
That's
works
gonna
now.
get done.
That's what I was trying to recall. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the understand that.
Ron, you have 2 areas, 2 drainage areas, drainage area 1,
Yes.
drainage area 2. Can you discern those 2 different areas there?
You want to show them on the ones to the upper left, and the other one would be to the lower right, I believe. If you,
This basically follows the existing drainage pattern. It kind of splits into 2 bisected property in this direction, east to west, more or less. One reaches this corner where the easement we discussed is located. This would drain to an existing dry swale that goes through the cemetery property. And the other half will drain down towards Richelieu Road, and we're basically continuing those 2 drainage patterns.
Okay, that's good, that's real good. Yeah, the drainage 1 is very close to the first pre-development, whereas drainage 2 is significantly different and better and improved. So that's where the activity is, so that's excellent. That's it.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I'm actually glad this is coming to fruition for you guys. I know you've been in Newport Firehouse for about a decade, so it's been a long journey. So I'm glad to see you have a home,
Public?
or will have a home. Yeah, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak for or against this project?
Not seeing anyone.
Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the final land development plan as presented for Faith Unity, tax parcel 02-001-055-002.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Mr. Kisselback seconded, Mr. Sloan's first motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, congratulations, good luck, okay?
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
We'll have a new place to go during Unity Week now. Okay, this is out of here. Thank you, sir. Okay, that'll bring us to public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make public comment here? Come on up.
Barbara Zeidler.
See you, Stan. Thank you. Don't forget your stuff.
It's,
Take your plan.
All right.
did you get my name? 1108 Ohio Avenue. You mentioned PennDOT, and I know that this is their problem, but I think maybe you have a little more influence with them than I do. There is a spot on Humenville Road, and I thoroughly appreciate what they did, crossing over the turnpike, widening it, putting in a guarded sidewalk.
Is this behind the shop right on Untitled Road, the bridge?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
yes.
At Gibson, yeah. go ahead.
Yes, but
I just wanna make sure.
but coming over Gibson, when you turn left and proceed down Humenville Road, whatever was dug up during that whole process has left actually a gully. It's like a number 7 in the road. Now, I know a lot of you do, and I drive Humenville Road all the time. And you go over and it's, you know, you just go in it and go out of it, or you have to, and it's, Mr. Mayor will know right where I mean. It's in front of the old produce market. It's right in that area. It's just past the turnpike. And why they stopped paving that little bit short, what is it, maybe 20 feet, 30 feet? Is there any way that they can come back and fix that section of road?
Yeah, we can
request that.
Thank you.
Did we sign off on the final acceptance of that? I guess, well, PennDOT would have, right?
Yeah, we don't have any inspection.
I mean, they paved it
No local
beautifully,
inspection,
right
just
up
state.
to past Gibson, and then there's this, like, depending on which direction you're coming, either a J or a 7.
Yeah, I think they put a pipe, but you can see whether they can smooth it out, right? We can call PennDOT.
Yeah, it's actually, like the blacktop's missing. That part looks more like concrete, and...
No, I didn't notice it. Now it's going to bother me every time I drive there.
Well, good, now we'll get it fixed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Willett, LindsayWillett, and I live at 2136 Bristol Pike. Thank you for this opportunity today to speak with you about a proposed resolution for a fairer method of redistricting state and congressional legislative lines. The resolution I am asking you to consider passing is a part of a statewide campaign by Fair Districts PA. Fair Districts PA is a nonpartisan, citizen-led, statewide coalition working to create a redistricting process that is transparent, impartial, and fair. Gerrymandering is known as the manipulation of electoral district lines to benefit one political party or person. It is not a new concept. and it has been practiced for hundreds of years by all parties. But it has grown far worse in recent years as new mapping and data mining technologies allow parties to predict outcomes with greater precision and thus draw borders to protect their party's control. Gerrymandered district lines weaken the power of our votes, and party leaders are working behind closed doors to keep it that way. Our current redistricting process, which allows party leaders to determine district lines, is clearly a conflict of interest, and the time has come to end this corruption. No other major democracy allows legislators to draw lines that govern their own elections, and Pennsylvania's process is among the most partisan in the country. It is time to put an end to, quote, safe districts, unquote. Districts which are packed with more Democrats or more Republicans, depending on which party is in leadership and wants to keep it that way. Many people won't consider running against someone in these gerrymandered districts. Why spend the money when the odds are greatly against you? It is not right when elected officials in gerrymandered districts can ignore a large portion of their constituents because they don't need their votes with a, quote, rigged system, unquote, in place. Competitive elections and competitive districts keep politicians accountable to their constituents, all constituents, not just their party's own. Both parties are guilty of gerrymandering, and both parties do it when provided with the opportunity. If our state legislature continues to do nothing, the presumably Republican state legislature will continue to draw and gerrymander our congressional maps after the 2020 census. And because Democrats control the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, Democrats will be drawing and gerrymandering our state legislative lines after the 2020 census. Both scenarios are antithetical to representative democracy. This issue is both bipartisan and nonpartisan. At Fair Districts, we believe that gerrymandering is the root cause for many of our problems in government today: gridlock, polarization, and lack of compromise. Pennsylvania has the distinction of being cited in the national press as one of the 3 worst gerrymandered states in the nation. But many of our elected officials have been working across the aisle to change that. There are currently bills in the Pennsylvania House and Senate which would create an independent citizens commission to take over the process of drawing our district lines in a fair, impartial, and transparent way. 5 of our Bucks County House representatives have supported legislation to create an independent commission in the current legislative session. Representative Jean DiGirolamo has been a sponsor of House Bills 22 and 23 and a strong advocate for nonpartisan redistricting. Our legislators are hearing from individual constituents and from municipalities by way of these resolutions in support of this change in our redistricting process. In passing a municipal resolution, Bensalem Township would join 21 counties and 305 municipalities statewide. These elected bodies represent over 8.8 million Pennsylvanians, or approximately 68% of the state's population. In Bucks County, the following municipalities have passed this resolution: Bristol Township, Buckingham Township, Doylestown Borough, Doylestown Township, Falls Township, Haycock Township, Langhorne Borough, Langhorne Manor Borough, Lower Makefield Township, Middletown Township, Morrisville Borough, Newtown Borough, Newtown Township, Regalsville Borough, Solbury Township, Springfield Township, Tinicum Township, Warminster Township, Warrington Township, and I have the pleasure of adding Yardley Borough and New Hope Borough to that list as of last week. In addition, the Bucks County Boroughs Association has passed a draft, the FDPA draft municipal resolution itself back in March of this year. We need your help. Each and every municipal resolution helps add to the public groundswell calling for redistricting reform. I implore you to be a force for good and help change government at the local level. I've brought copies of a draft resolution that can be used by the council as a basis for Bensalem Township's version, and I'm happy to answer any questions about an independent redistricting commission now or at the next working group, whichever is most convenient. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Do you have that draft resolution that you could provide us?
I do. I have copies for everyone, and I also have attached with it an infographic of Fair District Pennsylvania's approach.
Yeah, we generally don't do resolutions on state or government, and our state representative, who we'd be convincing, is the sponsor of the bill. So I don't know that we can make him be more of a sponsor of the bill, but
Well,
we generally don't get involved in issues that aren't.
I understand that concern. However, all of the townships have a requirement to influence state legislation that affects their municipality. Gerrymandering affects every single municipality in this state. There's over 40,000 people that live in Bensalem Township that would benefit from having this independent commission draw their legislative
Our
lines.
representative's a sponsor in the bill, right?
Correct. Representative DiGirolamo is sponsoring it, and I also spoke with him earlier today, and he indicated that he supported me coming here tonight to ask you to pass this draft
Give us a copy,
resolution.
and then we'll, thank you. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, we had somebody at our Rotary Club did a presentation on this about a year ago. It was interesting.
So, like I said, I'll be happy to speak with you at a later date if you would like. And
Who picks out the independent counsel?
well, that is something that is accounted for in the House bills. It's a little complicated at the moment because the governor is also having a commission hearing tonight, actually in Philadelphia, to hear about how people would be chosen for that as well. So
So we don't know how they would be chosen, and you're asking us to make a decision to allow them to do that. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not asking you
No,
to
she's
specifically.
asking us to support the idea of fair districting and gerrymandering, correct?
Correct, yes. I'm not asking you to specifically support one methodology or another for choosing a commission.
But she is
I'm
asking us to do that because if she doesn't have the answer, she's asking us to make a decision to change the process today, and she doesn't know how the process is going to be changed.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'd like to see the draft because I'm not really sure what we're being asked. And I'd like to
That's
see
exactly what I'm
the
saying.
I
words.
have copies of the draft resolution
You can
for
hand
you
those
all
out.
to
You can hand those out.
advise.
Okay, we had a young lady who came up who was, wanted us to do a resolution against puppy mills, and I was against puppy mills, but I don't really, it does affect people, but we don't generally do, this is a state thing that
Well,
they're
I
handling.
understand.
Yeah.
However, like I said, the municipal passage helps show the support overall.
Okay, I
at the
understand
state
that.
level.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I could read that.
Now, would this be done by a commission of people deciding arbitrarily, or do they use software? I've seen some research on this, that they use kind of randomized
They had some
software to
professor
kind
from
of-
California that everybody
I've
listened to.
seen some pretty neat stuff
It
with
would
this.
Did by
require
computer.
an impartial and sound methodology, including the use of software and other aided things to comport with all constitutional requirements.
It's supposed to be two from one party, two from another party, and an independent person, but I don't know who determines who.
Well,
I
the language of the House Bill 22 and 23 speak directly to how that would be conducted.
But when they went to the Supreme Court, they went to a particular professor in California who told the judges, this is the way it should be, so that's the way they did it, based
Well-
on one person's
That was for
analysis.
That was
the congressional
specifically
districts in
because
PA?
of the court case that resolved the issue with the 2011 drawing of the lines. This specific resolution that's in favor of House Bills 22 and 23 speak to what would happen in 2021 after the 2020 census,
Yeah, every
when the
10
lines have
years
to be
it said, yeah.
redrawn.
Okay.
So it would change the methodology going forward,
Yeah.
not just the one.
Yeah, but that's why they're voting on, they're gonna, okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out. Is anybody else? We have a couple more.
Good evening. My name's Patricia Mackley. I live in...
Patricia what, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Mackley, Mackley. I live in Eddington. It's a section where there was road work done, new sewage and drainage, which I think is a beautiful idea. There was new drains put in.
Is that the
different,
Ogden
Are
Avenue
you on
Basin?
Ogden Avenue, or?
Ogden Avenue, yes. So at the end of it, the end of my property, there is asphalt that meets the street. At the edge of that asphalt I have a 4x4 pressure-treated wood that goes along the length, and then it is my lawn. The asphalt is gone. It's like a ditch. The pressure-treated wood, half of it is gone, and it indents into my lawn, what's left there. So I didn't know if it was going to be repaired, or if it was just going to be
Well,
left that way.
we'll have to get your address. Did you give your address? Okay, we've had some issues that
I
we
did
tried
write
to
an
help
email
people
to the
with.
mayor's office. They asked for my address, and then I didn't hear anything back, so that's
Okay, well,
why I'm here.
No, was that destroyed when they did the work?
The
And that's when
streets,
it-
yes. Mhm,
Okay.
The whole,
Yeah,
yeah, the
if you give Debbie your address for council, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll make sure that it's followed up on, and we'll find out what the mayor's office has done in reference to it. We've helped several people along there. Most times
Yeah.
the engineers go out, the company in charge goes out. They make sure whatever they did, they're gonna have to correct.
right, right. That's why I
Okay.
figured I'd come here and figure out.
Yeah, give
Also-
Debbie your name and address, and then we'll make sure we get an answer back to you.
Okay.
your
Also,
contact
I wanted to
information.
know, in the drainage, there's netting. Are they ever going to come out, the netting? Okay, because it just makes the water worse.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
that's for the sediment?
Yes, I
For a
figured
certain
it's
amount of
to
time,
collect.
State law, you have
Yeah.
to put it in the pipe. It
Okay.
actually backs up the water right now.
Okay, yeah, it does.
And
It's
that they're
it's
all
on the
coming
street.
out.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And then the
Thank you.
whole road, is my understanding, the whole road's gonna be paved at some point. They were paving parts of it and patching and half of this and half of that. When they get completely done, they're gonna repave the whole road.
Yeah, they did the whole,
Oh, it's paved now?
asphalt,
Okay,
yeah.
I haven't driven
mhm.
down.
So that, yeah, that's been done, so I didn't know.
Okay, good. So
they
Because
should
I have a
repair your
basketball
property
net for
lines,
my
yeah.
kids that's laying on the front lawn. I don't want to put it back
Don't
up.
mention that, because that's not supposed to be in the street.
Well, it's on the end of my property. It's not
Okay.
in the street, but
Yeah.
it's because there's a big hole there, I can't put it there.
Okay.
He sent somebody out, the mayor sent somebody
Oh,
out.
Come
perfect.
out there, you know, and complain to the engineers that
To the
did
area.
that job.
Okay.
So I don't know if they.
Gilmore
got in touch with
Associates,
you or
right?
not.
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
All right.
We'll repeat that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dennis McGuire, 2463 Ogden Avenue, Bensalem. I'm just concerned that when the work's going to get done in front of my house, I got about 2 foot by 35 foot that I paved there when I first moved in 19 years ago. When they paved the street, Joe, the engineer, told them not to touch it. Okay, that's asphalt company number one. The restoration crew came out to put my driveway back together, what they did. I talked to the guy, can you do that? He said, yeah, I'll do it. Joe told him not to touch it. So I'd just like to know why we're told that.
Who's Joe? Who's Joe?
Joe's one of the street engineers that stands there and watches them like this all day.
Okay. I
Watches
understand
them
now.
all
There's
day.
a lot of Joes.
That's all he does.
Wanna make sure
And he
it wasn't
tells
me.
it, and he tells them not to do things too. So I understand, it's money, I understand.
Okay.
I got about 24 inches by 35 long, and it's just 2 inches deep now. With kids riding bicycles, somebody's going to get hurt. All I want is what the letter said in the beginning, patience. Patience is run out. I'm being told you're going to do it, and then you come by, and then you ain't going to do it. I just want to know when they're going to do it.
Give Debbie.
Okay.
Give all that.
Again, we'll have to
I've been
get
through this. I've talked to Dawn, I've talked to Joe, talked to Andrew, talked to Tom. I've been people on the phone. I'm
Okay,
not
well,
getting
we're,
anywhere.
well, we're gonna try to get you somewhere, so. to give
All
your
I want
name-
is to put back the way it was, is all I want.
Okay, well, we'll try to get that done for you.
Thank you.
Just take your name and number, and then we're gonna look into it and make sure it gets done.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, is there anybody else? Seeing no one else come forward, close public comment. Is there, is there other business? I close it real fast before that guy can get it. I saw him tilting that way, so, yeah.
Do we have an update on Jim Ryan's replacement for the Director of Public Works? Mr. Mayor?
Mayor.
Jim Ryan's replacement.
He's not been replaced yet.
We have a gentleman in there that is working there, has been working there, considering him for the number one spot.
Okay.
We're kind of working through kind of a probation to make sure all that works before I bring him in to council.
How many applicants were there for the position, do we know? Roughly?
I'm going to say 7, 6 or 7.
Okay.
Okay, so the assistant who's doing the job as the assistant may be considered being
Well,
promoted.
that's why we're keeping it that way, to make
Yeah.
sure that we...
He's capable of handling the job.
Think he's listening to this meeting tonight?
Okay. He knows he's on. Okay, anything else? Anything else, Jess?
That's all I had.
Okay, Ron, do you have anything before I? Okay. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything before I go to the rest of the council?
I attended the wake of the officer, Donald Brackett, for Bensalem, state police officer. I was there tonight. Very, 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 very sad. He died at a very young age, 50, I think 57. And he lives here in Bensalem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he died on duty. He was on duty, and whatever hit him physically passed away. So just keep him in your prayers, everybody. Bensalem, the family, 2 young daughters. So keep it in there. I hope everybody enjoyed the parade yesterday. For all the volunteers and everybody was there, I thanked them. The weather was great.
Yeah, beautiful.
I said yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right?
You hit it right
Yeah. Days are mixed up.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
I sort of wonder, maybe, Joe, you're right, maybe I don't have a pulse.
Well, you walk 3.5 miles in the hot sun, so I think you could deserve.
That's the easy part.
A little-
That's the, no, but, everybody, I hope you had a great holiday, and our veterans, what can I say? We can never, don't wait for Memorial Day to remember them, and you know your town here takes care of its veterans in every way we can, and we'll continue to do that. And, I know they tour, Bucks County Tour of Honor all the time, twice a year now, taking veterans to Washington. So it was veterans, and I don't know why we have to have one day, just let's think of them every day. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Technician, do you have any?
Yeah, thanks. Quinn, I was hoping maybe, we got some documentation on the issue that's going on Bristol Pike with Tennis Avenue. Is there any, could you give us an update on that? Yeah, Bristol Pike and Tennis Ave.
Goes further down.
Is that regarding the parking and stopping?
No, there's a business back there.
In Illusion Supply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right,
am I correct in saying there's a tennis?
No, it's Highland.
Yeah, maybe
It's
tennis.
Highland.
Sorry, Highland,
It's
okay.
Highland
There,
and
all right.
tennis.
Okay.
I checked with Public Works. We had met with them about a week and a half ago. They are ready to put the signs up, the no stopping signs, I believe.
Working, yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're going to be doing it this week or not. The sign rep from Public Works has been out sick or something like that. So I did check with him to see, because Ken Farrell did mention to me about one of the items that they was in the works. So I'm anticipating that they'll be up next week, the signage at least.
Okay, but.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
But, I mean,
There's a lot going on.
They're laying on this stuff, and there's a lot going on with the one neighbor, lady on the corner, the trucks parked in front. So that, I think, we take care of pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's fine, but I think there was additional issues to
Oh,
your
yeah,
point.
there's a ton of-
Outside storage,
Yeah,
you know.
they're working on that, Ken Farrell.
Yeah,
I talked to Ken about it. He told me that there was like disputes over, like they had built a roof to cover the shingles, and then the neighbor took them to court to remove the roof, so they removed the roof, and now they're upset that the water's on top of the shingles.
I'm not sure about
I
that.
don't really
I know Ken did say that they were trying to set up some meetings, I believe, with the property owners down there, a one-on-one, just to kind of
Yeah,
make
we're
sure
on
everybody's
top
on
of
the
that.
same page.
Big time. Yeah, that's a long list.
Yeah.
It's been going
Yeah,
on.
there's-
Yeah, we're on.
But that's
I'm
been
not
there
aware
a
of
long
everything.
time.
I attended the sign meeting, that was all that I was
That
involved with.
business has been there a long time, maybe about.
I understand that, but apparently from what I understand, they're expanding. And at some point, you have to question whether or not that particular location is good. I certainly want to see our businesses expand in the township, but.
You can't just shut them down.
I understand that,
But we're
but
trying
at
to.
some point, you certainly don't want to create issues with adjacent neighboring properties either.
Yeah, you try not to, yeah.
Why don't we do this, address each one of those issues so you get an answer to each one of the issues that's in there?
Right,
Make sure
okay.
you have that, so that every issue, they're working on it.
Okay.
I know they're working on it. Ken's been down there personally they're trying to work out and see
And they've
each
been to court,
individual
too, I
thing
think.
that's addressed in there.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. And just to bring up the Brookwood again real quick, just so a reminder that we look at that for the additional no parking to corner signs. And then there was it didn't come up earlier, but I don't know if we ever consider painting the curbs in addition to the signs, just to make it more visible that we don't want individuals parking there. It certainly is a safety issue, especially where there's bus stops. I didn't see anything in the code, but I thought I'd mention it.
It's not in the budget, is it?
Painting curbs?
We're talking about,
Budget, is it?
We're putting no parking.
we're talking about some paint.
No, we're talking about manpower, we're talking about going out painting it, we're talking about, once you do it for one area, you gotta do it for every place in the township, so you're talking.
Understood, but that's why I'm
lots of
asking the
man
question.
We're talking about
hours, lots of
coloring,
paint.
like yellow
So-
or something? Like yellow curbs?
Yeah, yep.
I'm not
Well,
saying
if they
it's
have no
not
parking,
needed,
you
but I'm
get
just
it.
saying.
I think if they have no parking signs and they park there, you get a ticket or you tell them and then they'll know not to park there. Especially if they're coming from the apartments, but.
Okay. And then just congratulations to the Robotics again. And the school board had also recognized them, so I also wanted to mention. The school board also recognized another group from the high school, or actually it's both middle school and the high school, PJAS. The high school brought home 21st place, 13th second place, and over $40,000 in scholarships. So we're just seeing a lot of great things with our school system there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Polari, do you have anything?
Phillies are winning 4-3, top of the seventh.
Top of the seventh. We'll be out of here, but if they go to overtime.
They just said
They're
4-3.
playing, so.
He just said
Bryce
4-3.
Harper hit a double and scored a couple runs. I'm happy.
I have to turn my head.
Mr. Kisselback, do you have anything to
I
add?
would just like to mention the fact that we did commemorate Memorial Day yesterday, and a special thank you to our Gold Star families. I can't imagine how that would be to have a member of your family give their life, and they do it willingly, and we have some of us who've been on the service, and our friends and family, all of us have someone in our family have served. And I think it's only 1% of the country that actually that signs on that dotted line and becomes a member of the armed forces. So it's a very small, select people, and those who give their lives for us, God bless them and their family. It gives us the opportunity to be here tonight and do what we're doing. So I just want to make sure they're recognized for what they do, and a special thank you to the Gold Star families. Thank you.
Okay, I would just add that I would like to thank the VFW in Andalusia for sponsoring the parade and all the work that goes into the parade. We did help out the VFW with that shrine that they put down there to the veterans, and I'd like to give credit to Parks Casino. I think they ended up putting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 into that memorial down in Andalusia for the veterans, which was nice of them. Memorial Day is for the fallen veterans, people who have actually given their lives. And I happened to check out Facebook, and I was reminded that a classmate of mine from St. Charles from 1974, John Bunk, was killed in Beirut. He was one of the first ones, it was one of the Marines. I think there was 233 Marines. That was one of the first things that happened in the Middle East. He was a 1978 graduate of Bensalem High School, and he was killed 25 years old. So people like that give their lives for our country, we have to be, honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice and for our freedoms. With that, do we have a motion to close? So moved. Thank you.